delicious meal, and a friendly hello to someone just like your mother, grandfather, or next door neighbor. These seniors are inspiring people with incredible stories to share, and they love to see you. The smiles you get back are priceless. Delivering with Meals on Wheels is easy, and you don't have to drive like me for it to be quick. You can volunteer your lunch break once a week or just once a month. With 1 in 6 seniors facing hunger and many more living in isolation, your lunch break can make a real difference. So, America, let's do lunch. Volunteer your lunch break at americaletsdolunch.org.
This message brought to you by Meals on Wheels America and the Ad Council.
Okay, Simon, what are you wearing right now?
Nothing.
That's right. And what do people normally wear?
Clothes.
Exactly. So now mommy's going to teach you how to dress yourself. Clothes keep us warm, they look good, and if we go out without them, the neighbors will talk. So it's important to know how to get dressed. Here's how it's done. Underwear always comes first, name tag at the back, then pants, then shirt. Get the first button in the right hole or you have to start all over. If you're wearing a tie, it goes over, round, round, through, and pull tight. Tuck your shirt into your pants and zip up your fly. Socks going first, then shoes right on right, left on left. With shoelaces, just take the ends, cross them over, switch the loops. The rabbit goes down the hole, pull tight, and you're left with bunny ears.
I love bunnies.
Good to know. Now remember, spots don't go with stripes, socks don't go with sandals, and if you've tucked in your shirt, wear a belt. Got it? Why are your pants on your head?
Most parenting is hard to do in just 2 minutes. But spending just 2 minutes twice a day making sure they brush their teeth is easier and could help save them from a lifetime of tooth pain. For fun 2-minute videos to watch while brushing, visit 2min2x.org. That's 2min2x.org. A message from the Partnership for Healthy Mouths, Healthy Lives, and the Ad Council.
So you see, son, good manners are very, very important. Someday, many years from now, when you're a grown-up, you'll be a man. And when you are, you should be a gentleman. Do you want me to go through it one more time?
Yes.
Yes, please.
Yes, please.
Exactly. Always say please, thank you, you're welcome, and excuse me. Sit up straight, hold doors open for ladies. If a door's shut, then knock first. Don't burp, don't swear, don't speak with your mouth full, don't reach across people's plates, keep your elbows off the table.
What table?
And don't interrupt. While we're at it, don't stare, don't use foul language, don't call people names, but do remember people's names. Always share your toys, play nice, and cover your mouth when you cough or sneeze. On the bus, give up your seat to anyone who has trouble standing bottom line. Treat others the way you'd like to be treated. Got it?
Got it.
And stop picking your nose.
Most parenting is hard to do in just 2 minutes. But spending just 2 minutes twice a day making sure they brush their teeth is easier and could help save them from a lifetime of tooth pain. For fun 2-minute videos to watch while brushing, visit 2min2x.org. That's 2min2x.org. A message from the Partnership for Healthy Mouths, Healthy Lives, and the Ad Council.
Hey, there he is. How's it going?
I'm having a stroke.
Are you going to shake my hand or what?
I'm having a stroke.
Wow, you're not even moving your arm.
I'm having a stroke.
Are you okay?
I'm having a stroke.
Your face looks weird too.
I'm having a stroke.
Are you having a seizure or something?
I'm having a stroke.
When someone is having a stroke, they may not be able to say it with words, but their body language will tell you loud and clear.
I'm having a stroke.
You just need to know the sudden signs. Look for FAST, F-A-S-T, F, face drooping, A, arm weakness, or S, speech difficulty, then T, time. Time to call 911 immediately, because the sooner they get to the hospital, the sooner they'll get treatment, and that can make a remarkable difference in their recovery. Know the sudden signs. Face, arm, speech, time. Spot a stroke fast. Visit strokeassociation.org. Brought to you by the American Stroke Association and the Ad Council.
The average time a resume spends on an HR manager's desk is 7 seconds, and most of them are tossed aside. Now imagine if one of those resumes belonged to Yasmin, who was
living in a shelter, juggling 3 jobs. I had to be resilient. That's something that you can't teach.
or if that resume was from someone who
worked 12-hour shifts at the recycling company with my dad, who's 72. That taught me a work ethic that I carry with me every day.
we rely so much on a resume, yet it could never tell the full story of someone.
Growing up where I did, a lot of things could have gotten in the way of my goals, but I learned to push through, and that's what I bring to work every day.
So maybe it's time we look beyond the resume and look to Grads of Life. Discover new ways to develop great talent that are so much more than what's on paper at gradsoflife.org. A public service announcement brought to you by Grads of Life and the Ad Council.
Take a look under your bed. Find stuff under there? What about jobs? No? Now try your basement. There's a pair of overalls that overall you're not so into anymore. A perfectly good laptop that hasn't sat in your lap in months. And even more stuff, but still no jobs? Well, you really have both. See, stuff is defined as household articles considered as a group. Sometimes this stuff is no longer needed. Wait, no longer needed? That can't be right. Because remember those jobs you were looking for? Those are really needed, and they're the stuff inside your stuff, even inside that winter coat that moved with you to Phoenix. Our job is to unlock those jobs, and it starts when you donate your stuff to your local Goodwill. Here's how we do it. When you donate to Goodwill, we sell your stuff to provide job training for people right here in your community. So just by teaming up with Goodwill, you help create jobs. And isn't that worth parting with the leftover guitar from your 80s cover band? Goodwill. Donate stuff, create jobs. Find your nearest donation center at goodwill.org. A message from Goodwill and the Ad Council.
Dear John, I was hoping it wouldn't come to this, but you've left me no choice. I'm leaving. Uncontrolled high blood pressure is really serious, and lately you seem to really not care. I've been there for you since day one, and I know you think I'm going to keep ticking. But no, my friend, I can quit whenever I want. Why can't we get back to the good times, when we were more active and ate more healthy foods, and you checked on me every once in a while? Is that too much to ask? I don't want to leave, but unless you stop ignoring me, what else am I supposed to do? Remember, when I quit, you quit. Sincerely, your heart.
Listen to your heart. Don't let it quit on you. Doing the minimum to control your high blood pressure isn't doing enough. High blood pressure can lead to a stroke, heart attack, or death. Get your blood pressure to a healthy range before it's too late. Find out how at heart.org/blood pressure. Check, change, control. A message from the American Heart Association, the American Stroke Association, and the Ad Council.
Hey, what's up, everybody? I'm Jason Derulo. I love that music connects to people all over the country. But unfortunately, so does something else. Childhood hunger. 15 million kids struggle with hunger right here in America. And yet, every year, billions of pounds of surplus food in the U.S. go to waste instead of going to the children in need. Feeding America is working to change this. The Feeding America nationwide network of food banks rescues this surplus of food to help provide meals to families in virtually every community in the United States, including yours. But they just can't do this alone. Join me in the fight against hunger in America. For more information on what you can do to get involved, visit feedingamerica.org. That's feedingamerica.org. Together we can solve hunger. Together, we're feeding America. A message from Feeding America and the Ad Council.
It's the Worldwide Sports Radio Network.
Gerrit Cole will miss at least 1 to 2 months with an elbow injury. The Giants find CBA what is this? What does this say over here? Loophole that doesn't pay arbitrations players fully guaranteed money. And could Caitlin Clark make an NBA roster? When we come back here on the Sports Loudmouth. Doc Rivers is going to have Damian Lillard run very fast out of town. Does he help them win? You're under 500. Aaron Judge helps the Yankees win. You're paying the player $300 million. You better be sure that guy's going to help you get over the hump. For some reason, this guy is completely lost on calling plays. Maybe he's a therapist. Did you see Lamar Jackson cry to the ref? No, he didn't. We are back, ladies and gentlemen. As you know, a new show of the Sports Loudmouth. I'm your host, Errol Marks. My co-host, Speedy Petey. 631-672-3108 is the number to call. Go to our website at www.worldwidesportsradio.com. Check out all our shows throughout the week, including the Loudmouth with me and Speedy Petey and Sean Smith every single Wednesdays and Thursdays at 7 p.m. All you have to do to tune in, check out our local listings, is go to our website at www.worldwidesportsradio.com. Speedy, what's up, man?
I'm loving the warmth. I know you're not liking these new hotter temperatures, as you love the snow. You love your winters, especially the ones in Minnesota.
First of all, I never said I love the snow. I said I think it's beautiful. I do like the cold. I hate the heat. I hate sweating. I hate when my pits smell. Okay. And I could put on so much deodorant. I use, and I just want to let everybody know, I am like a girl when it comes to deodorant. I put on 2 separate deodorants every single day before I go out because I can't stand the smell of my pits when I sweat. And in the summertime, it's horrible. I mean, it leaks, it goes down your pants, it goes down your shirts. And then when you're playing basketball, you're hanging out with your boys or you're hanging out with whoever you're hanging out with out there, and you're about to go to the beach or do whatever the hell you want to do in the sun, you're sweat. And I don't like the way I sweat. So there you go. I just don't like the feeling of sweat. You do, obviously. You're wearing a sweatshirt in a studio, which is about, 70 degrees? Are you that cold?
I don't know.
What do you mean you don't know?
I'm not cold. I'm fine.
You look like a giant condom, man. That's what you look like. Yeah, that's what you look like. It's seriously. Why are you wearing that? It is not cold in here. It is 71 degrees in here. I am sweating right now. How are you not sweating?
I don't know.
You don't know, but you're wearing your Rangers hat.
I am.
Why?
We have a Ranger guest on tonight.
We do, but you wore your Ranger hat yesterday. We didn't have any Ranger guests.
No, we did not.
So why are you wearing a Ranger hat today?
I can't wear hats of a team I like.
No, you have to wear a different hat every single day. I mean, that would just tell me that you are wearing the same hat and it probably smells. Does it smell?
Well, our fans can't smell it, so
I can smell it.
All right, good for you. Mr. Dog Nose.
What did you call me?
Mr. Dog Nose.
Do I have a dog nose?
Apparently, because you can smell everything.
I can smell everything. I can smell crap too, Yeah. I can smell it. I'm smelling a lot of crap coming out of you. It's a little bit.
Okay.
All right. Is that okay with you?
You'll have to tolerate for 3 hours.
I tolerate a lot of things. I'm here right now tolerating your craziness usually every single show. So why can't I tolerate the way you smell? At 8:30, we'll be talking to former Ravens, Saints, Commanders, and Jaguars defensive former tackle, Martin Chase. And at 10 o'clock, we'll be talking forever Blueshirts writer and on-air talent, Steve Pappas. He will be joining us a second time on our show. As we all know, Josh Silverberg couldn't get him, but we did. So shame on Josh. Anyways, Gerrit Cole will miss at least 1 to 2 months with an elbow injury, which is unclear what it is, ladies and gentlemen. Nobody knows what this elbow injury is. Obviously, the Yankees don't want to come out with it. Aaron Boone came out. He spoke to the press twice and can't give us any information about it. And now he has to go and check out or talk to a bunch of other doctors. He's going to speak to maybe 2 or 3 other doctors. So it doesn't look good for the New York Yankees. And does this mean Blake Snell could be in the works? Maybe somebody else. It's not going to be Dylan Cease because he was just traded to the Padres. So Dylan Cease is not going to be a New York Yankee because he was traded yesterday to the San Diego Padres. So not good for the New York Yankees moving forward. The Giants find a CBA loophole that doesn't pay arbitration players full guarantee money. Very interesting. I don't even want to say it. Is that why you didn't sign Saquon Barkley? Is that what you decided to do?
San Francisco Giants.
Well, why don't you say that? Because it seems like it's the it seems like it is the Yankees. I mean, I'm sorry, it's the New York Giants. Anyways, could Caitlin Clark make an NBA roster? Many NBA legends believe she should. So we will get into that. Adam Silver discussing rule changes to bring more balance of offense and defense. So we will get into that. Maybe they bring back the old New York Knicks times and Chicago Bull times and the nasty Detroit Piston times where you could put your hands and slam people on the ground. Then we don't have LeBron James crying to the referees every time he gets touched to go to the hole. So it's horrible. The way the game is played, it's just absolutely boring. Nick Saban speaks to a bunch of senators discussing his decision to retire and the state of college football, as he came out and said that the reason why he left college football is because of the NIL deals and the money that some of these kids are making. NHL trade deadline recap. Ex-Vanderbilt quarterback Mo Hasan says he was paid by mobsters to rig football games. This isn't good, by the way. And I've been saying this. I believe football is rigged, especially the Super Bowl. It's definitely rigged. The NFL knows who's going to win. Mike Tyson versus Jake Paul. The fight is set for July 20th. We have not gotten into that. I definitely have some information about that. And let's parlay at 9 o'clock with Wes and Derek. And we will have a special guest at 10:30, as we will have Nathan joining us. As always, hopefully he knows what quarterback is starting for the Minnesota Vikings because he didn't know who was going to be, who the top 5 quarterbacks that were going to be drafted. So hopefully Nathan knows what he's talking about tonight. So we will have Nathan join us a little bit later in the show. I love you, Nathan. I'm just kidding with you. So let's get into it because there's a lot to get into. And really baseball right now for the New York Yankees is a story. It's a story. It's not the hot dogs in the stadium or the sausage and peppers, which Speedy likes. The long, thick, dark sausages that he likes, right, Speedy?
You know that already.
Yes, but the fans don't know that.
They do.
Carl
jokes about it all the time.
Well, Carl does, but the other fans don't know about your sausage loving.
Well, if they respond to Carl in the comment section,
But you
they
like
will.
the sausage, right?
Okay.
The long, thick sausage, right?
Okay.
All right, I'm just saying. The Yankees announced that Gerrit Cole will miss at least 1 to 2 months with an elbow injury. Cole will undergo multiple tests to determine if it is a torn UCL and will do it with the same surgeon that repaired Aaron Rodgers' torn Achilles. Initially, tests didn't show a tear, but did show inflammation. The Yankees say that they would prefer Cole to avoid surgery and go through an 8 to 10 week therapy process. Cole will make $36 million this year and has an opt-out after this season. If he opts in, he has 4 more years worth of $36 million each year. Cole won an American League Cy Young Award last year with a 2.63 ERA, a 0.981 whip, and 222 strikeouts in 209 innings pitched. Gerrit Cole, if the Yankees lose Gerrit Cole, it's a huge loss. And I don't know if there is a player or a pitcher on this roster that can take over and be the number one guy. Marcus Stroman was really, in the first half of the Cubs season last year, the number one guy for the Chicago Cubs. But the Yankees didn't bring him to pitch 6.5 innings. They brought him in, and they came out and said that they want him to pitch 5 good innings every single start. And he was going to pitch every 5th day. So Marcus Stroman is not the guy. Carlos Rodon right now in spring training is throwing 91-mile-per-hour fastballs. 91-mile-per-hour fastballs. That's not going to last. And he doesn't have the off-speed pitching that you see Jacob deGrom have, or one of those top-end pitchers, or even a Justin Verlander who can throw a curveball 12-6, or of that kind of talent when it comes to throwing those off-speed pitching. Right now, the Yankees are in a position where they have to decide if there is no chance that Gerrit Cole pitches in this rotation this coming year. They need something set up. They need a second plan where they're going to go after a Blake Snell. Now, Blake Snell's still available. He is still available. Now, Blake Snell, I know everybody's going to say Blake Snell isn't Gerrit Cole. We all know Blake Snell isn't Gerrit Cole, but Blake Snell has pitched in the American League East. He has pitched in Yankee Stadium. It's pitched very well in Yankee Stadium. He played for Tampa. He understands how to pitch in a division that has a lot of power and a lot of good talent. The Baltimore Orioles right now are the best team in the American League East. They bring in Burns. It's a different team, and they have the pitching staff. They're bringing up all their youngsters. We're going to see Jack Holiday this year. This team is loaded. So is Tampa. They always have a good farm system. And Toronto, with what they're doing, what they did in free agency, what they're going to do, bringing up some of their young pitching and some of their young prospects, they're going to be dangerous. The only team right now, when you look at the American League East, that looks like they're going to be looking from the bottom to the top, are the Boston Red Sox. But now with the new GM, they're rebuilding. They're going to rebuild. They brought in some good offseason acquisitions, but they're not ready to win. The Yankees brought in Juan Soto this year because they believed they had a chance to win. That the middle of their lineup was murderer's row. When you have Aaron Judge, you have Juan Soto, and Giancarlo Stanton. You have three guys that could hit 40 or more home runs and hit over 100 RBIs, if healthy. Giancarlo losing almost 20 pounds of muscle, 20 pounds of weight this offseason, so he could take some of that weight off his limbs that he's had problems with over the last couple of years. He couldn't stay healthy. The Yankees believed that he was going to have a breakout season. And Volpe winning a Gold Glove and stealing, over 30 bases last year, maybe batting 1, with a lineup with Volpe, Judge, Soto, Giancarlo, and Verdugo, or maybe a Rizzo, or whatever they're going to do, and then a Torres. This is one of the best offenses in the American League. But you sit here right now, and you look at the pitching, there's a lot of questions in this rotation. A lot of questions. And right now, Carlos Rodon went from the number 2 to the number 1. Nestor Cortez, who is coming off an injury, went from number 3 to number 2. And Marcus Stroman went from 4 to number 3. And this rotation is a shell of what they thought it was going to be with Gerrit Cole. And some of the stories were coming out in the middle of the offseason is they were going to bring in Blake Snell. If Blake Snell was going to take a Carlos Rodon contract, they were going to bring him in. But Blake Snell thought he was worth $270 million.
And now Blake Snell's a favorite to go to the Angels, apparently. And now he might have to reconsider that. The Yankees are going to have to reconsider that because they don't really have a true innings eater. As good as Stroman has been, he's not like a guy that goes long into games either. And not same kind of thing with Cortez. He did that the one season, the All-Star season, but that was really it. And Carlos Rodon, he still has to prove himself. And like you said, lost velocity. And the Yankees also have to be very careful, too, because they've had these issues with these arm injuries with pitchers recently. You saw it happen with Frankie Montez. You saw that happen with Luis Severino. And they have to make that decision big time with Gerrit Cole because Gerrit Cole is light years ahead of where those guys are and so valuable to this team. And for $36 million a year, you would have to think no matter how long he miss, unless he has the season he had last year, he's going to opt into that contract. So the Yankees have a lot of value that they're going to have to take on. And it's a tough dilemma because like you said, Soto's there and they're going to have to bring him back too. And they're going to have to sway him.
Again, when you sit back and you try to figure out where the Yankees are going to go this season, and a lot of people, we've had Yankee experts on our show. We had Yankee writers on our show just recently, and they said he actually said that, and I'm sorry, Regazzo was on our show, and he's a Yankee writer, and I disagree with him, but he said that the Yankees will win between 90 and 92 games, and they would be a wild card team. I think the Yankees are a little bit better than that. Now, without Gerrit Cole, I think they win 88, 89 games if he doesn't play this season, and they're a borderline wild card team. And the problem is right now is you need that number 1 guy. You need the guy that on every 5th day is going to shut down every team's top hitters. They don't have that anymore. And listen, they gave Carlos Rodon a lot of money. They gave him a lot of money last year, and he was not healthy. His shoulder problems definitely affected him. There was no question he wasn't the same pitcher he was when he was on San Francisco, and he wasn't the same pitcher that he was when he was on the Chicago White Sox. Well, the last year of the Chicago White Sox. So, and he had one of the best fastballs in baseball, one of the best 4-seam fastballs in all of baseball, and now he can't throw a 4-seamer. So what are the Yankees going to do? He's not an off-speed pitcher. He needs to learn how to be a pitcher if he doesn't have the power. And that's the problem, teaching a pitcher. Look at CC Sabathia. Look how long it took CC Sabathia to become a pitcher. He had to learn to cut fastball, which he learned from Mo. He had to learn how to throw a changeup, which he learned from Andy Pettit. So it took him a little while. And when his arm went, when his shoulder went, he was never the same player. So, and by the way, CeCe Sabathia never had UCL surgery. He had a torn rotator cuff. So it's a different game, a different thing. And look at Luis Severino. Luis Severino went from shoulder problems to elbow problems. And then when he came back and he could still throw 100 miles per hour, he still had problems locating the ball. So the Yankees are in a position right now where there's a lot of questions to this rotation. Does that mean the Yankees can't win? With this lineup, they can score 5 to 6 runs a game. If they can put up the offense, even with the lack of pitching and the way their defense played in the infield last year, in some aspects of the game, especially in the second half of the season last year, their infield played a lot better than anybody thought they were going to. And this was an older infield. Besides Volpe, I mean, it was an older infield. So they had Donaldson, who's retired. I mean, he's no longer on the team. Anthony Rizzo, he was the first. Anthony Rizzo is a great defensive player. There's no question. But he's an older defensive player. How old is Rizzo? 35 years old, 34 years old. He's an older player. So, and then that Gleyber Torres, their infield practically was their youngsters were Volpe and Torres might not be on this roster next year.
Mm-hmm. And then we talk about Aaron Boone, like wearing guys out all the time too. He has to strategize that in order to not do that more.
Something about New York coaches.
Yep. They love to do that kind of thing. Yeah. Tom Thibodeau loves to do that kind of thing. The Mets, forget about it. They don't know how to manage a pitcher to save their life. And then Fish, I know you know this with the Mets. They love to injure guys, the young pitchers as they are, and the Yankees are doing it now too.
Hey, it's I'm not going to get so upset about the young pitchers because I heard this great report when I was doing research today, guys, that Luis Heel, yes, that Luis Heel, who pitched a handful of games for us a couple of years ago before his elbow exploded, he is hitting around 98, 99 and struck out 8 Phillies with most of their lineup. Maybe he's the guy to step in for a month or two if Cole is down. But besides that, it's slim pickings, fellas. They've got really nothing else going in the minors right now that's ready.
And again, obviously with the minors, everybody says, well, what do the Yankees have in the minors? They traded away a lot of their pitching going after Juan Soto. They rented Juan Soto. They gave up King, who would have been a part of this rotation, might have been their second guy in their rotation this coming year. And now he's pitching for the Padres. And now you have Dylan C. So Dylan C's who's over there now. So their rotation's pretty damn good. And then you sit here and you wonder, where could the Yankees go? Is there any free agents out there that the Yankees could bring in that could help them automatically? And there really isn't. The only pitcher that would have helped them out significantly is Blake Snell. He is the only one. And we all know Jordan Montgomery will not come back to the New York Yankees after what the Yankees did to him 2 seasons ago. So he's not going back to the Yankees. I'm sorry for all the Yankee fans that believe that they could bring back a guy like Jordan Montgomery. Jordan Montgomery already came out and said that he has no interest in going back to the New York Yankees. He's probably going to sign a 1-year deal with Texas, and he's going to try to win another World Series. So the Yankees, and you sit here and you wonder where and what the Yankees could do in free agency. There is no free agents that they can bring in. They could make a trade, but what team is going to make a trade in spring training when the season hasn't even started? So, and that's the problem with the Mets right now, because they lost their big pitcher in Senga. And who do they have as their number 2 guy? They have Quintana. Now, the Yankees are in a better situation than the Mets are because the Mets have nothing. The Yankees still have pitchers. They still have, if Carlos Rodon figures out how he can throw a fastball again, maybe they have something with him. And then they have Marcus Stroman. They have Nestor Cortez. They have pitchers. Schmidt was a good pitcher in the second half for the Yankees. And like you said, they could bring Gil could actually be a nice pitcher to add to this rotation as well. He won't be the number 1 guy, but he could be the number 4 guy. So the Yankees do have something, and they have the offense to do it. But if you're a Yankee fan right now, you can't expect going into this season and in the position that they're in without Gerrit Cole to win anything without him. So you're here in 1 to 2 months. It could be the whole season. He's going to look at specialists. And now they're saying he didn't tear his UCL. But usually when he said twice in spring training when he pitched, he came out and said after the 30th pitch, he felt like he threw 100. That is a bad sign. That is not a good sign when he says he's feeling tingling in his elbow. That usually means his UCL is going. And now he's going to look at how many different experts, how many different doctors is he going to see where they're going to just tell him, like, listen, maybe you need to sit out for the season. Maybe you just need to heal. And the Yankees could go with 3-4 months without him.
Josh says Dylan Cease was just traded. Pitchers can get traded in spring training.
Yeah, did I not say Dylan Cease get traded? First of all, Dylan Cease was traded for one reason, because he wasn't going to be there. And did I not say Dylan Cease was going to get traded? And he did get traded to the Padres. That's why Josh just popped in and he wasn't listening to the segment. Okay. Dylan Cease was traded to the Padres, and that's why he was off the mark for the New York Yankees. And the Yankees, no team right now. Dylan Cease was the only name that was out there that was available. He was the only one. Josh, could you give me another pitcher right now that you've heard that is available for teams to make trades for? There is nobody. No team is going to trade any of their good pitchers right now. Nobody. And that's the fact. And the Yankees are in a position right now where they're really nitpicking, and they're picking for berries or picking, dodging apples, because that's all they're going to be able to do. Speedy likes to dodge apples.
No, but the Dodgers like to defer money. Maybe the Yankees have to try that sometime.
What do you mean? How are they going to defer money?
That was a joke. They can't do it now.
They can't do it right now because there's nobody available.
Yep.
Blake Snell, maybe they could defer his money.
Yep.
But Blake Snell, now you're hearing stories that Blake Snell is possibly going to the Angels. So that's out of the picture too. So, and there's no other teams right now that are willing to trade with the Yankees before the season started. So the Yankees are screwed. They're going to have to ride with this rotation and hope for the best. That's the problem right now.
It seems that's more for the Yankees a lot of the time too.
Yeah.
John Heyman said he was grasping for straws. He thinks that the Reds might trade Michael Lorenzen. And
they're not going to trade him right now. They're not going to trade him right now.
That was the only guy he could even think of. And it doesn't matter, because how is Michael Lorenzen putting up 5+ WAR like Gerrit Cole did? That's 5 games he's worth. You said that they'd only win 89 to, compared to the Ragazzo's estimate of 92. That's 3 WAR. He's 5.2 WAR last year in the Cy Young. Say he gets just around 5. They need to find 5 more wins, not 3 without Cole. A guy like Lorenzen would just be replacement level anyway, around 0 or 1 WAR. They're not getting those wins back if he's hurt for the season. It's a wrap of the division, maybe the wild card.
And Josh, and I see what Josh is saying right now. He says, you said that pitchers don't get traded in spring training. Dylan Cease was going to be traded. He should have been traded already. That's the only reason why Dylan Cease was traded. Usually, if you look at spring training, Josh, tell me another pitcher in the last 2 years that was traded by a team in spring training. Nobody usually does that. Dylan Cease was supposed to be traded before spring training even started. He was available. Nobody wanted to trade for him. Everybody waited until their rotations were set. That was the only reason why. And the Yankees were reached out, and they were going to trade for Dylan Cease, I think from Chicago. They were trying to make the move for him, but it seemed like there was another team ahead of them. And now the Yankees are put in a really bad position. That doesn't mean that the Yankees aren't going to get a guy like Gerrit Cole back, but you're hearing 1 to 2 months. That means he won't be back probably until June or July. And you're in the middle of the season. You're right there at the All-Star break. So maybe you should push him off until the end of the All-Star break. Don't take any chances with Gerrit Cole, because, again, this might be the last year that Gerrit Cole is going to be on your roster, because he could opt out of his contract. And again, Gerrit Cole's going to protect himself because he is probably going to ask for more money at the end of the season. If he pitches like 11 or 12 starts and he wins 7 or 8 games, he's going to tell everybody, well, I can still pitch. I'm still the dominant pitcher I was last year. I had problems with my elbow this offseason, but I feel good. Look at Carlos Rodon. Carlos Rodon, before he had that contract with the Yankees, he had problems with his shoulders. The Yankees didn't know about it. And this is the problem with the New York Yankees over the last couple of years, making moves for pitchers, the Oakland A's. But we all know, and Frankie, you know who I'm talking about, who's no longer a part of the organization or team. This has been a problem for the New York Yankees. They bring in players, they don't realize, or they don't use their doctors right, and they bring them in, they make these trades, and it doesn't work. And this is a big problem for the Yankees because you're spending all this money on these pitchers. AK right now, the Carlos Rodon situation. Carlos Rodon is making $27 million a year. He signed a 6-year contract. There is no opt-out clause in the contract. I don't think there is. So you have Carlos Rodon 5 more years, and you don't know if you're going to have the best of Carlos Rodon. That's a big problem. And again, that's why a lot of people believe the Mets didn't want to make that move and give a guy like Jacob deGrom, who, by the way, is one of the best pitchers and was one of the best pitchers in baseball, that extension, because they were worried about and they knew what was going on with his elbow.
Yeah, and the Mets plan B wasn't much better. They had to get Justin Verlander or Max Scherzer instead.
Yep. When we come back, ladies and gentlemen, we will have our very special guest. We will be talking to former Ravens, Saints, and Commanders and Jaguars defensive tackle, our friend Martin Chase. But first, our Sports Minute with our friend, Mr. Tommy Scoops.
This is the Sports Loudmouth Sports Minute.
Are you ready to get loud?
With Tommy Scoops.
That is right, everybody. You heard that correctly. This is the Loudmouth Sports Minute. I am the man, Tommy Scoops, to give you guys all the rundown. And for today's scoop, in the NBA, unfortunate news for RJ Barrett. The forward for the Toronto Raptors unfortunately lost his younger brother, Nathan, today. It is currently unknown as to what the passing is, but prayers are out to the Barrett family. And the forward will actually be out tomorrow's game against the Magic. No RJ Barrett for tomorrow's game. And shifting over into some other news, Luka Doncic is actually out tonight as well against OKC Thunder. Luka Doncic actually exited the Warriors game yesterday, quite early into the game, and his status is currently to be determined for the point guard right now. Other news, Ben Simmons has just completed his second back surgery in 3 years. Ben Simmons has already been declared out for the rest of the season, but however, the Nets did mention they do hope this will head him back for the full season next season. So we shall see what that to come. And shifting over into the NFL right now, as free agency frenzy still is currently underway, the Bills are currently signing wide receiver Curtis Samuel off of Washington. Curtis Samuel gets a 3-year, $24 million deal. And with Gabe Davis, Stephon Diggs as that team right now, that team has a very stacked wide receiver core. Into the other news, the Eagles are signing linebacker Devin White to a 1-year deal. The longtime Buccaneers linebacker will be seeing a 1-year deal now with Philadelphia. Now to go over to Scoops' scores, where I'm going to give you a quick rundown of the current scores right now. Currently in the NBA, at halftime, Boston currently leads Phoenix 65-60. While over here with Los Angeles currently has a 35-26 lead over Chicago. Washington and Houston right now are squaring up, with Houston currently having a 27-24 lead, and Milwaukee and Philadelphia are currently tied at 24 apiece. Right now in the NHL, the Islanders are currently losing 3-0 against Buffalo, with Boston and Montreal squaring up. They are both tied up at 1 apiece. Arizona and Detroit are currently leading right now, and Arizona has a 2-1 lead. Similar with the Rangers have a 2-1 lead over Tampa Bay, and San Jose and the Pittsburgh Penguins currently have a 3-2 lead. That is currently all the time I have for you guys right now. I'm going to send it back to the boys right now for their guest, Martin Chase.
This is the Sports Loudmouth.
631-672-3108 is the number to call. You're listening to the Sports Loudmouth. I'm your host, Errol Marks. My co-host, Speedy Petey. Go to our website at www.worldwidesportsradio.com. Check out all our shows throughout the week, including the Loudmouth with me, Speedy Petey, and ex-NFL player Sean Smith, every single Wednesdays and Thursdays at 7 p.m. All you have to do to tune in and check out our local listings is go to our website at www.worldwidesportsradio.com. Scoops, I just want to let you know, Gabe Davis signed with the Jaguars 3 years, just so you know. So he is gone, and that's why they brought in Curtis Samuel. So I just wanted to let you know. So it will not be Gabe Davis. Gabe Davis will be heading over there to the Jaguars, and the Jaguars are loaded right now. But, hey, Calvin Ridley's now with the Titans. And the Titans right now, they have Hopkins and Hopkins, and then obviously Calvin Ridley. Calvin Ridley got a 4-year, $90 million contract. It's an unbelievable contract for a guy that has only played 1 year after being out for 2 seasons. So it's crazy. But Hey, we have our very special guest. We've been trying to get him on. He's been working and doing his thing in the offseason. We are now talking to former Ravens, Saints, Commanders, and Jaguars defensive tackle, Martin Chase. Martin, what's up, bud?
How we doing, fellas?
You look good, man. I like
Thank you.
I like the gray beard. I like it.
You
Looks
like
good.
it? Yeah.
I like it, man. You look good, man.
Something different. Hey, appreciate
Sexy
it.
for the ladies, man. Sexy for the ladies. You know, when you speak, when you go out there and you see all these beautiful ladies, say, that's right. I'm a sexy man. I'm looking good. I'm looking good.
Trying to do a little something different.
Yeah, you know what? I like your style, man. Maybe I should just grow gray beard. I mean, I have some gray over here. I mean, I'm going to do the Martin Chase. That's what we're going to call it, the Martin Chase.
Hey, I appreciate it.
We'll call it the
I can
Chase.
work with that.
We'll call it the Chase Wonder.
We can definitely work with that. How we doing, fellas?
We're good, man. How are you doing? The last time we spoke, we got into your career, and you've been on a show a couple of times. We got into your career, and we got into the Baltimore Ravens because you know a lot about the Ravens.
Yes.
So why don't we get into it? Because last season, the Ravens were the best team in the AFC. They were the best team in the AFC. Lamar Jackson was launching the ball, the MVP. He was fantastic throughout the season. And then they got into the playoffs, and then they choked.
Yes.
What were your thoughts against Kansas City? I mean, what happened to Lamar Jackson? I mean, what is going on in Lamar Jackson's head that he threw that ball in double coverage? It made no sense and put the Ravens in a bad position. And that's the reason why I believe that was the reason why they lost the game.
They had their opportunities to win that game. I'm not going to put all the blame on Lamar. He's definitely he definitely had a great season. But as the quarterbacks, as they say, they take the blame when the losses come, and they get the glory when the wins. But I'm not going to put all that on Lamar. The defense in the second half, they didn't show up. And, for Kansas City, you got to give Kansas City their respect. They basically won the Super Bowl the same way. You had an opportunity to win, and, they're champions again.
So you're a defensive tackle. A lot of defensive tackles getting paid last offseason and this offseason. Chris Jones, you're talking about with the Chiefs, Matabuke with the Ravens. Do you think the league is valuing it just as much now as you see with edge rushers?
Not in this free agency market, because you can't forget out Christian Wilkins going to the Raiders, and he got paid nicely. And so I think the next free agency, I think we're going to see the DNs get the big money.
It's so interesting when we look at the defensive style of the game, and it changed last year. It was an offensive game. There was the year before I think the NFL had the most points and the most touchdowns in almost 20 years. And then this past year, it became a defensive game again. The defenses figured it out. The corner play was fantastic. What were your thoughts? What was the change in what you see as a defensive player that changed everything for the defenses from the offense?
Secondary play is definitely getting better. Because, like you just said, it's been a passing league. And so you can tell with Kansas City's defensive secondary. And as young as they are, they're going to be exceptionally well coming up for next year. So you got to give credit to a lot of these secondaries because you're dealing with a lot of spread offenses out here now.
So the defensive rules have been something that's been commented on a lot. We've heard Tom Brady saying, oh, these guys are flag football now. And meanwhile, he was complaining his whole career too. And it's made very hard for a lot of these defensive players. What are your thoughts to those defensive rule changes to make the league more scoring?
You know what? I did fall in that bucket for a second there. But if you remember, we had a few backups playing against each other in a playoff game. And I think the result of that, especially going into the future now, the quarterbacks are making $200+ million. So it's that thing of what do? Do we go ahead and look for that backup to play for most of the regular season, or we keep these guys healthy? Because the paydays were different, for the Joe Montanas and, for those days back then. But now we're talking about $200 million. And I had to blame that on the Cleveland Browns, how they just, set that off and messed that up for, I feel. but it's changed the whole quarterback landscape. And so now we're in a different era now. We got to protect these guys or we're not going to get a good game at all.
We are talking to former Ravens, Saints, Commanders, and Jaguars defensive tackle Martin Chase. Martin, what is it that the NFL teams and why NFL teams are devaluing the running backs?
That's a good question. And that's something I can honestly say I can't answer myself. It's weird because if you look back, it's kind of like the devaluation of the tight end position. And we saw that coming. And now it's the running back. And so it's kind of that thing of, for owners, they're always looking for a cheaper way to keep the money in their pockets. So if we can have 2 running backs and pay the same price and, not have to have a Saquon Barkley and still get to a Super Bowl like the Kansas City Chiefs did, and so that right there, that example goes on to the next owners of like, okay, we can get away with this. We just need a top-notch quarterback to take us there.
And another position, the 2 other positions that have been devalued kind of in this free agency, a lot of safeties that were cut as well and linebackers that were cut this year. And a lot of them are signing on veteran 1-year deals. Do you think that kind of the same?
I just saw that with is it Devin White?
Yes.
For the Eagles, a 1-year deal. And he was looking for a big contract. And so right there, I think that was a message around the league. And so it's interesting where we're going in the league now into the future. I don't know where we're headed, but I don't know. I feel bad for a lot of these players because a lot of these players think they're going to make a lot of money, but they're not.
Martin, we've had a couple of ex-NFL players on our show in the last couple of months. And now that the NFL has given a new money to these NFL teams, and they're doubling up now, more money than you ever saw when you were playing. An extra $30 million. Now these teams can spend an extra $30 million. Now you look at Brandon Ayuk, he's going to get his money from San Francisco. All these teams have all this money. Even the Lions, they doubled up too. They were going into the offseason with $50 million. Now that they got an extra 30, they're almost at 75 million that they could spend. What are your thoughts to the extra money that the NFL is providing to some of these teams?
Well, the extra money is kind of that you have to be smart with that money now because we're recognizing a lot of these teams are you can't put that money out like you used to. And we saw when going all in doesn't work. A lot of these windows are starting to close. I mean, Buffalo Bills, their window is closed. The Jets, their window is definitely closing because they hopefully can get Rodgers back. But it's that thing of spending that kind of money. You have to make the right picks on that money.
So we were discussing last week about the impact of marijuana in the NFL, and we have Sean Smith, an ex-NFL player that's on,
who loves it, by the way,
co-host on our show. We had ex-quarterback Anthony Wright.
Likes puffing the cheese, baby. Loves puffing the cheese.
We were discussing a lot of the players that did it a lot even before the game for medicinal purposes, and you played with one of the most notable ones in Ricky Williams in New Orleans. So what is your thoughts on that, and what did you see with him?
It's one of those things of if you watch these young men, a majority of these young men, they're able to perform. They've always been able to perform. It's their niche. It's not my niche, but it's theirs. But they've always been able to come to the field and put on a show. And Ricky Williams is one of those guys. He's a Hall of Famer in my eyes. So I can't put that knock on a lot of these young men, but it's the choices that a lot of these guys make off the field that puts them in harm's way.
It's so interesting when you look at the power of the AFC and going in this offseason, the Bills pretty much getting rid of all their secondary players. They spent a lot of money giving it to Josh Allen and Von Miller, and now they have to start taking away contracts and renegotiating contracts. The Bills, the power of the AFC East, could really go through the Dolphins now because the Dolphins still have some money. They did lose Wilkins, but they added Shaq Barrett. And the Jets, we don't know if Aaron Rodgers is going to be 100% healthy, and we don't know if they're going to have an offensive line that's going to protect them. They did add Morgan in a trade the other day, so we'll see how that works out. He was a Jet Morgan Moses. He was a Jet a couple of years ago too. So and he didn't have much of a season because he was hurt when he was a Jet.
Yeah.
The only season that he was hurt for practically a whole season was with the Jets. So it's very nice to know that the Jets bring in another guy, a guy that they had that wasn't even healthy the year that they brought him in. So that doesn't make any sense either. But and then there's the Patriots. They have no Bill Belichick, no Tom Brady. They're rebuilding too with Gerard Mayo, who I think is a fantastic player. He was a fantastic linebacker. So you look at that's just the AFC East. Then you have the AFC North. You have Burrow coming back. You have the Steelers having Russell Wilson. You have the Browns coming back almost at full strength with Watson, and even the Ravens. That's probably the best division in all of football. And then the Texans, what they've done, CJ Stroud, the Jaguars, adding some of the pieces that they added, and with Trevor Lawrence, the Colts having Richardson back, and the Titans adding now Calvin Ridley to that offense with a young quarterback. And then obviously the Chiefs division, which we all know about the Kansas City Chiefs, the Broncos who are rebuilding, the Chargers have Jim Harbaugh. So I just went through all these other teams, and the Raiders who have obviously a new coach, a new coaching staff. So what are your thoughts of the power in the AFC?
It still lands with KFC. The thing that you just said, you mentioned a lot of youth and quarterbacks. And you're dealing with Russell Wilson with the Steelers, but he's going to a whole new organization, has to learn the system. With Lamar, I think we get another repeat with Lamar and Patrick, but it's kind of that thing of I don't know what the Bills with Josh. I like Josh. I want to like Josh a lot, but I don't know what it is. Only if you fellas could tell me, is Josh missing something? I don't know.
He is. I mean, losing Gabe Davis, that was a big blanket that he had. Now he has the two tight ends, the two young tight ends that look pretty good, especially in the second half of the season. You have Stephon Diggs. If he doesn't see the ball, if he gets double teamed this year, what are you going to do? How are you going to deal with him?
Yeah.
Their running game, this is the first year that they actually had a good running game with James Cook. We'll see if he could do it a second year in a row. We don't know how their running game is going to be this year. And Josh Allen lost his starting center. So their defense is not even going to be half as good as it was last year because there is no secondary. So I mean, if you ask me, the power of that division is the Bills and the Jets because the Patriots are going to be rebuilding.
Yeah.
And we don't know what the Patriots are going to be because they still have they have a good defense, and I like Jared Mayo. I think he could be a good coach. So we have to see how the season moves forward in the AFC East. But honestly, I don't know what the Bills are. I don't know. And I don't know if this roster is good enough for what they were last year. And their roster wasn't even that good last year.
So would you say their head coach is on the hot seat coming into this year?
Big time. Big time. He was on a hot seat last year. If he didn't sneak into the playoffs, because they went into the second half. I think at one point they were 3-5 or something.
Yeah, I think they got it passed because of the injuries, but he's definitely a hot seat.
And then they started to win, and then Josh figured it out, and that had a lot to do with using some of the young players that they have, the tight ends that they have, and that's what Josh is going to have to do this year. And he's going to have to run the ball a lot better with his legs because he's going to be running for dear life. Because that offensive line, I love. When Deion Dawkins opened his mouth the other day and threw the Jets under the bus, okay? He wanted to say, I'll take anybody but any of the Jets, okay? And that's fine. Deion wants to say that. That's fine. What are you going to do when you have to play that defense? What are you going to do when you have to defend against Quinn Williams? He was the only one that he actually gave props to. He doesn't like Sauce. He doesn't like he doesn't like anybody. He doesn't like anybody on that roster. I don't even want to name the players because we don't know if they're going to be on that roster by the time the season starts.
They're all just a bunch of weirdos.
The reason why I don't think they're going to be on the roster because who's going to get hurt? It seems like it always works in the Jets' favor. It goes down. So I mean that's why I'm not going to name DJ Reed. I'm not going to name that offensive line. We don't even know who the offensive line is going to be. So it's crazy, but. I really think when it comes to talent, it's really the Jets and the Dolphins.
Yeah,
that's what I think
if they can put an offensive line together they're an interesting team. They're a very interesting team. You have Rodgers coming back. Hopefully he comes back healthy, but they're a very interesting team. The Browns are going to be an interesting team bringing Deshaun back.
You don't trust Jameis Winston?
I don't know what they're going to do with that one. I don't know if they're going to put Flacco at backup, or I know the money talks, but it's going to bring an interesting thing, a situation in the locker room.
Jameis Winston is that nut that doesn't want to drop. Okay, that's what it is. He is the nut that doesn't want to drop. I mean, all you guys out there, you guys have nuts. You have beanbag, your legs, and
every team does.
Yeah, we hope Winston has a beanbag, and if he doesn't, I wonder what he is. But
we know Deshaun Watson has one.
We do know that. We know he likes to get a grab too. But and maybe I've been saying that Deshaun Watson should go over there to New England. I mean, him and Mr. Kraft would be best buddies. They can together. Why would they even?
He wouldn't know the best massage parlors around.
I mean, but seriously, Jameis Winston's like that nut that doesn't drop. He's like that one piece of your nut sack that just doesn't want to drop. That's what he is. I love Jameis Winston. He comes from the Florida State Seminoles. He won a national championship. That's my favorite college team. He loves crab legs. We all know that.
Yeah, we know that.
We know that, and we also know that he likes to go into Ubers and do crazy things in there. So we know that too. So Jameis Winston's one of those guys that you just wonder when is it going to fall into place? When is he going to figure it out? And I don't know if he'll ever figure it out. That's why I think when you hear Jameis Winston's name, I'm like, it's Jameis.
You cringe a little bit.
Yeah, it's nothing impressive about it. It really. Honestly, when you look at the situation of some of these certain teams, Russell Wilson, there's no guarantees that Russell Wilson is going to win that job. Everybody keeps saying, "Oh, he took $1.7 million. He took the veterans minimum." It doesn't mean anything because Kenny Pickett could get healthy, and Kenny Pickett could actually get stronger and actually show up to preseason games and obviously OTAs and actually show that he can actually play the quarterback position. So,
and that's the thing. I think with Pittsburgh in that front office, it's going to be interesting because I feel like there's a split when it comes to Kenny Pickett and with Russell. I don't know which side. I don't know if the coaching staff is excited about Russell or in the front office, it's excited about Kenny. Could be vice versa. But that's going to be an interesting, dilemma for the offseason.
How about the dilemma with the Eagles right now and the Giants? Have you reading everything that's going on right now?
I'm not reading that, but just seeing, it's like Barkley, head over to Philly. It's going to be a good summer.
Let me ask you a question. You're a player. You wanted to stay on your team.
Yeah.
And for the last 3 seasons, you've been asking that team to pay you top running back money. He wants to make Christian McCaffrey money. That's what he said. I am one of the top 3 running backs in the league. I've proven it. When I'm healthy, I put up the numbers. Pay me what I'm worth. And for 3 seasons, they gave him 2 seasons, they gave him a franchise tag, and they were paying him $10 million a year when he wanted to make $15-16 million. They offered him incentives. Obviously, he has to stay fully healthy to get those incentives. And with a running back position, you're never fully healthy. So he goes over there to the Eagles and he takes the money. And you have Tiki Barber crying, "Oh, good luck. You're dead to me."
Yeah, I don't understand that with Tiki, though. But I think you guys know Tiki very good.
Yeah, we know him, too. He likes to run and fetch after during the season. He said, "You know what? I don't want to be on this team anymore. I hate this team, so I'm going to retire." Tiki Barber, who's the biggest baby we've seen I believe, in New York football history. How many NFL players in the prime of their career, after the season that you had the year before, in the middle of the season, say, "You know what? I don't want to be on this team anymore. I don't like the way this team is playing. I'm gonna retire right now. I'm walking away from this team," and then take a shot. What is it, 15 or 12 years later, at a young kid that's been asking the Giants to pay him because he wants to be a Giant for life, and everybody's attacking him now? Give me a break.
It doesn't make any sense because they knew all along they weren't going to pay him. And so it's like we just talked about the devaluation of the running back. And it's kind of that burnout system that you're seeing. You get the 4 years out of the guys and basically move on and start the whole process all over again. So they got the best years out of Saquon. So it's kind of like, let's move on. But I'm happy for him, though.
So you played against Tiki. Was he like that on the field that same way with other players?
I'm
You never said he was.
Tiki is who he is.
I'm going to help you out, Martin. He's a bitch. Okay, that's what he is. Tiki Barber is a bitch. And that's coming from my mouth, coming from Martin Chase, who doesn't listen. So that's
Tiki,
the truth.
you know, Tiki. Hey, everybody, you know Tiki. He is who he is. He's a confident dude. He speaks his mind. But, you know, he is who he is.
So we were trying to be nice. There, he's trying to be nice.
You're trying. You're trying to get the NFC East rivalry out of you, and it's not coming yet.
Don't worry, I'll help you out. He's a bitch. There you go. Easy words for you.
So he was talking about Russell Wilson before, and the Broncos last year kind of really screwed up with him, like the injury contract clause situation, and they didn't want to play him. They were going to bench him week 8 allegedly, and then they didn't bench him until the end of the season, and they didn't want to give him that money. Like, as a former player yourself, has any of those teams ever seen teams do that to another player or even to you?
No. It's like I said, we got to look at the head coach who's there right now. And he has an ego, you know, just as big as anybody. And so that right there, that marriage was never going to work when he became the head coach. And he showed it on the sidelines to Russell.
You know, and by the way, we are talking to former Ravens, Saints, Commanders, and Jaguars defensive tackle Martin Chase. He's a friend of the show. We love him, and he does such a great job. He's a good speaker, and he does a lot of speaking around the country. You know, Martin, you look at the NFC right now, and you look at the power of the NFC, and there really isn't much power. It really isn't. I mean, the 49ers, they're good. The Eagles adding Saquon Barkley and Bryce Huff, that puts them back probably up on the NFC East. The Cowboys lost some pieces. They don't have any money to spend. The Commanders have a new coach. The Giants look like they're going to beat each other on the sidelines. As we know, Dable is like Hitler on the sidelines. You have the Lions. Maybe the Lions are the new and improved top team right now in the NFC. But after that, it's really the Lions, the Eagles, and the San Francisco 49ers. Maybe the Rams, but
I would like to put the Rams in there.
Mhm.
They tried to make some noise, you know, towards the end of the season. If they can get a couple pieces defensively, they definitely need a running back.
No. They got Williams. The Rams have
Williams
Williams.
had a very good year last year.
Yeah.
Maybe a second running back to like spell him if he gets
Yeah,
hurt.
some depth. Yeah, some depth. But for those 4 teams, but like you said, San Francisco is holding the torch right now. Do you leave out the Eagles?
No, I said the Eagles. I say the
Okay.
Eagles, the Lions, and the San Francisco 49ers, maybe the Rams. The only thing that worries me about the Rams, Cooper Kupp can never stay healthy.
Yeah.
And we all know Puka. Puka is a special player. I think this guy's going to be a star. And Matthew Stafford, you don't know what you're going to get out of Matthew Stafford for a full season because he's never healthy.
True.
So that's the only thing. And they don't really have a backup. Zach Wilson. Hold the chips. Zach Wilson. Hold on. Ring. Give him a 7th round draft pick. Actually, give him an 8th round draft pick. There is no 8th round.
Oh, don't worry. The Rams have the great Stetson Bennett. You don't trust them?
Give him an 8th round draft pick. It doesn't exist.
I don't know. I'm a Baker Mayfield fan, so I'm gonna always ride with these Tampa Bay Buccaneers. I don't know if they're going to be able to repeat from what they did last year, but I'm looking for great things from that team because just the nucleus and a lot of those guys coming back for next year. But the NFC East, just the NFC period, it's that football is not what it used to be. I grew up a Giant fan, so it's kind of that thing of, Lawrence Taylor is the reason why I play football. And so that football in the East and in the NFC, it's gotten so bad, but I can't explain why and how, the transition of AFC is so top heavy right now.
Did you take any advice from, a guy like Lawrence Taylor? I mean, he sniffed, he probably sniffed a kilo every single season.
Hey, the stories alone kind of kept me away, but to try to attempt to be the type of player he was, man, I tried my best, and I got the opportunity to play, especially for the Giants. It was a dream come true.
A guy your size sniffing, an 8-ball every single half. I mean, you probably.
I don't think I'll be here. I wouldn't be here right now.
Oh my God. I couldn't imagine his partying habits. Could you imagine Lawrence Taylor going out with him and drinking and, him going to the bathroom and,
the stories he has.
I'm ready to go.
His stories alone are made for a movie. Because just as a football player, you think back in those days, a lot of those guys would drink beers during, in the locker room during, after practice, during coming home from games. It was just that kind of, times back then. But now, it's different.
Martin, drinking beer and sniffing cocaine during the games are two different things, buddy.
I think Martin's trying to petition for if time travel ever does exist, maybe Johnny Manziel exists in a different time frame and does well.
Could you imagine Lawrence Taylor and Johnny Manziel hanging out?
There's a party close.
Who do you think will party more? Who do you think could sniff more cocaine? Johnny Manziel or Lawrence Taylor? That would be a great competition in the prawns of their career. Oh, man. Martin, you're the best, man. We love you. Keep up the good work. How's your organization doing?
Good.
It's good?
Yeah, we're doing really good.
Raising some money?
Trying to.
How about send me something, send me a Venmo, I'll send you some money. I would love to invest into your organization. Speedy will send you my Venmo. I would love to help you out.
I appreciate that.
Absolutely. Martin Chase, ladies and gentlemen, a friend of the show. We love him. And he doesn't sniff cocaine, ladies and gentlemen.
Yes.
He doesn't. I'm trying to help him out here. I don't want his organization to think he's a drug addict. He is not. He is clean. I don't know about Lawrence Taylor. Martin Chase, ladies and gentlemen, ex-Ravens, Saints, Commanders, and Jaguars defensive tackle. Friend of the show. We love him, as he always does, the best job when it comes to interviewing. He does.
I love you guys. Appreciate you.
We love Martin Chase. Fantastic. All right. When we come
back,
fellas. Ladies and gentlemen, we love you, man. When we come back, we are going to have our parlay. Yes, let's parlay. But first, we're going to give the reins to Tommy Scoops for our Sports Minute.
This is the Sports Loudmouth Sports Minute.
Are you ready to get loud?
With Tommy Scoops.
That is right, ladies and gentlemen. I am back for an update like I promised, and I am Tommy Scoops to give you guys the Loudmouth Sports Minute. And for today's scoop right now, in the NBA, the 76ers are going to be signing center Kai Jones to a 10-day contract. The former Hornets first rounder is going to be a big man fill-in until currently Joel Embiid gets back into the lineup. Shifting over into the NFL, the Texans' newly acquired running back Joe Mixon gets a 3-year extension worth $27 million. Just 2 days after being traded from the Bengals, he now sees himself staying in Houston for 3 years. Switching over into some other news, the Giants are going to be signing former Eagles tight end Jack Stoll on a 1-year deal to keep him in the NFC East. Other NFL news, Jadeveon Clowney is set to visit the Jets and possibly the Panthers. Right now, the current first overall pick has no home right now, but hopefully we'll see himself right now with the Jets or possibly the Panthers. Now it's time for Scoop the Scores. I'm going to give you a quick rundown or an update of the last scores for the NBA right now. In Boston, they currently have an 89-75 lead with Los Angeles and the Bulls currently at halftime 64-53. Washington and Houston right now. Houston has a 70-50 lead with Philadelphia having a 52-46 lead. And right now in the NHL, Buffalo has a 3-0 lead over Islanders, and Boston and Montreal are both still tied up at 1 apiece. Arizona currently has a 2-1 lead over Detroit, with the Rangers having a 3-2 lead over Tampa Bay. That's currently all the time I have for you guys right now. I'm going to be back later in the show, of course, and I'm going to send it over to the boys for Let's Parlay.
This is the Sports Loudmouth.
631-672-3108 is the number to call. You're listening to the Sports Loudmouth. I'm your host, Errol Marks, my co-host, Speedy PD. Go to our website at www.worldwidesportsradio.com. Check out all our shows throughout the week, including the Loudmouth with me, Speedy PD, and Sean Smith. All you have to do to go to our website and check out all our local listings is you go to www.worldwidesportsradio.com. Thank you to Martin Chase. He was fantastic, as he always is. And boy, oh boy, he does not sniff cocaine. And if he does, he probably hangs out with Wes. I'm just kidding, Wes. Oh, man. All right. We finally have these two guys back on the show together. We have Wes and we have Derek. When we call this segment the Let's Parlay.
It's time for Let's Parlay.
All right. I almost forgot the name of the segment. It's okay. It's okay, ladies and gentlemen. I have had a long day. I was in Manhattan back-to-back days at that summit, but I came back. I'm here. I'm awake. I wasn't sleeping. I was practically sleeping throughout the show yesterday. But I'm here, and we have Worldwide Wes and Derek Mountaineer Mountain Worldwide Wes. What's up, buddy?
What's going on, fellas?
Well, I see you were right about the cryptos. You were right about Bitcoin going up 70,000 right now. It's at 72, I think. It's hit its high, so it's moving. It is definitely moving. So I know you're racking in the money, my friends.
Well, it's taking a little dip right now, and it's gonna do that for a little while, but either way, it does feel good, and certainly the 4-0 on this show last week feels even better. Lucky for your listeners, they haven't been following anything I've done for the last 24 hours because I've been ice cold. So hopefully that breaks the streak, but that's kind of a disclaimer for what my couple days has looked like in college hoops. There's been some surprises, and this Big East has been pretty intense with the teams that are showing up and not.
Well, I will say this: when you come on this show, you're usually 3-1 or 4-0. You're great. What is his record right now, Speedy? You have his record?
I'll find it.
All right, let him find the record. I thought he would have it up. I don't know why he wouldn't. And Derek, what's up, buddy? Now we finally have you both on. I know a lot of the fans were waiting for Worldwide West and Derek to be on the same show because you guys have been back and forth. But you're on the show. How are you doing? How's everything going over there in Boston?
Good. We've had quite a week for the NFL. A lot of wheeling and dealing. It's been fun. And Howie Roseman, as an Eagles fan, he never disappoints. Whether I like the moves or not is a separate issue, but it's entertaining to follow. They just signed Devin White an hour ago, so he's been wheeling and dealing for the 3 days it's been. So
I love it. I love the moves the Eagles have made. I mean, Bryce Huff. I mean, I think that's a steal. Undrafted player, paying him that kind of money. He hasn't been an everyday defensive end, but I mean every down defensive end. But I do believe he could play in every down, be an every down defensive end. And Saquon Barkley was a nice pickup, and now White. I like what they've done. I think they're going to be very, very good. The only thing is, I didn't like the Kellen Moore signing. I didn't like that. So we'll see how that works.
I think definitely Moore's a weird fit with Jalen Hurts. I got to see that one because he's only been with like true drop back guys with Dak and Herbert. He has a pretty extensive menu of plays, drop back game. He's pretty static, very West Coast oriented. That's not really what Hurts does. So I wonder, is he going to cater towards his personnel a little bit, do a little bit of the Steichen stuff, still keep it spread out? Is he going to go under center a little bit because they really haven't done that since Hurts has been the quarterback? But he's been doing that as a play caller the entire time he's been in the NFL. So that's one I got to see. That's a weird fit to me, but I think it's an upgrade because he can't really get much worse than Brian Johnson was.
Well, that's true. I mean, honestly, Nick Sirianni, this is a make or break year for him.
Oh yeah, big time.
It's definitely a
Sink or swim.
Yeah, and I want to see if Sirianni actually knows how to coach, because
Yes.
we've had Sean Smith on the show, and he knows Sirianni says he's a water boy. Okay, that's what he said. So we'll see if he could actually coach a team now that he has coaches that he's going to have to coach. I mean, Kellen Moore, let's be honest, he is not a good coach if he doesn't have a good coach on the sideline to kind of tell him what he wants him to do. Mike McCarthy is a good coach. I don't care what anybody says. Go look at Mike McCarthy and the numbers he's done for the Cowboys this year as he's calling the plays. Kellen Moore was calling the plays the year before. Dak Prescott's numbers were way down. So you could see. And then look at Justin Herbert's numbers this past year. Yes, he was hurt, and yes, he had a bad finger, and he was out for the season. But if you look at the first 5 games, like 5 games that he played and he was practically healthy, his numbers were not good. So Kellen Moore has really jumped from one team to another team in 3 years. This is a make or break year for Kellen Moore. If he doesn't do well over there with the Eagles, with the weapons they have, he might never get a job again. So it's going to be an open year for for a team like the Eagles and even the Cowboys. I just almost mentioned the Cowboys lost so many pieces. They lost so many pieces, and they have no money to spend. And I thought Derrick Henry was going there. He goes to Baltimore. What are they doing at the running back position?
Bringing back Zeke.
I mean, are they bringing back Zeke?
I don't know, but it might be the best option at this point.
I mean, they have nothing, and they don't have
I'm
any
interested,
weapons.
though. I'm interested to see how Deuce does as a running back because, I'm in the heart of Big 12 country, so I got a chance to see him play, and I realize college and the NFL doesn't translate. Dallas has a pretty good O-line, and they definitely can do some damage in the pass game. If you're going to save money. The last 5 or 10 years have taught us that running back is where you save the money. They're probably going to draft somebody, but yeah, I'm interested to see what Deuce does. He didn't get the reps with Pollard. Pollard was not a 1. And so I'm not saying that is their answer. I agree with you, a Henry move, a Barkley, any of these running backs that were out there for the taking, but they didn't have the money to spend on them. So I think it'll be interesting to see how it goes. I kind of like that the Dallas Cowboys have been quiet, and I agree with you, Errol. McCarthy is a good coach. A coach that's winning 10, 11, 12 games a season, that's a good coach. There's only one team at the end of the season that goes home happy.
Yeah, we know. We know. Work on your face. By the way, I should have your jersey soon. So
I wasn't even. I mean, that wasn't a Chiefs.
Stop it.
Moment.
You know what you were about to bring up. Come on, stop it.
But if you're a fan base and your team is winning 12 games a season, you're happy for the most part. I mean, it's a great season. You get to the end of the season. You're not. If you get to the postseason, it's gonna be a hard walk back to the car from the stadium, or it's a hard night if your season is over in the playoffs. But 12-win season, I mean, you get to cheer all season.
Wes, by the way, you're 55-32 with 1 push.
What's Derek? What's Derek's record?
Derek, you're right now fringe at 500 off 46-48-1.
That's not bad. It's going to be interesting. All right, guys, you know the rules. Everybody, if you don't know the rules of Let's Parlay, they're going to give you their top 3 picks, and they're going to give you a 4th pick that you can parlay as well. So, and as you know, Worldwide West last week was 4-0. So if you bet on any of his picks or all 4 of his picks and you parlayed, you could have won a lot of money. So there you go. And he's right now on a cold spell, but I have this feeling, I have this power in my hands right now, and I'm going to zap it into our friend Worldwide West, and he's going to be either 3-1 or 4-0, and so is Derek. I have this feeling. Here we go, boys. Are you ready? Worldwide West, you're first. Derek, you're second.
So I'm gonna go with one that tips off here in about 15 minutes. These last couple of days, I've been able to find some real value and just odd, disrespectful numbers on some of the players, just college player props. 2 days in a row, we were on Anton Watson for Gonzaga. He was just getting disrespected with the over/under for points at 10.5 and 11.5. I think, yes, whenever Gonzaga played last, he did that in the first half. So those were easy cashes. Today, we were on a player from WSU to have over 1.5 assists who was averaging 3. So I think that there's some vulnerabilities in these. So this is Marquette. I'm looking at Stevie Mitchell. It pays plus 106, and I'm taking him over 10.5 points for the game. Last time they played Nova. His number was either 12 or 15 points. They're going to need some perimeter shooting. What Nova did last night is not going to be what we see tonight. They did not take a team very seriously, and they put themselves in a position. They played with their food. They shouldn't have been in that spot. Nova plays defense, and I think that Marquette is going to have to spread the ball around. I don't know that Marquette's going to have a 20 or 25 point scorer, and those types of games is when Stevie Mitchell either drives to the paint from the perimeter, or he gets hot from 3 because he gets extra chances. So, and I also think that when it's time to foul a player, he's a likely candidate to get fouled just because the remainder of the starters are so vulnerable. So Stevie Mitchell, guard for Marquette, over 10.5 points. It pays a little plus money. It tips off in 15 minutes.
All right, Derek, give us your first pick of the night.
I'm actually staying in that game. I could not have said it better myself, Wes. That was a really good setup. Nova clearly was looking ahead last night. They did not take a DePaul team that now has lost 19 straight to finish out the season. They did not win a game in the Big East. They didn't take them seriously at all. 7 for 35 from 3. They did lock them down when they needed to. They held them to 57 points, but Villanova just really, really sloppy on the offensive end. I think they're going to be really sharp tonight. I think this is a game that they circled and said, we win this one, we're in the NCAA tournament. So for that reason, I'm going to take them against the spread. I'm going to take the points. They're plus 3.5 points. No Tyler Kolek for Marquette. He is the engine, which helps Wes in his favor with Stevie Mitchell. His usage is going to be up, but everything went through Kolek. They're trying to get him healthy before the tournament next week. I think it's going to be much tougher for Marquette to score. Villanova is 15th in the country in adjusted defensive efficiency on Ken Palm. They will lock you down. They are really frustrating to watch at times on offense. They are very reliant on the 3, but I do think there's a team they can hold Marquette in the 60s, and that gives them a chance to cover the spread, keep it within 4. Marquette is not good at defending the 3. They foul at a really, really high rate, and Nova likes to slow it down. They play one of the 16th, I think they're 16th lowest in terms of tempo in the country. So this is a tough game to prep for in a tournament environment. So give me Nova plus the points.
All right, Wes, give us your number 2.
So I'm going to go to tomorrow, and all my plays are in college hoops. I mean, that's my focus right now. I've been playing a lot of NBA, and I've been doing quite well. Last week I went 10-3 on a Friday night. I haven't gone public or brought my NBA plays to the show just because most of what I'm doing in the NBA is live. Because I don't trust the rosters that I look at when I'm reading the stats and crunching the numbers early in the day. If I give you guys a play, I just don't trust it. But nonetheless, I'm all NC2A, and I'm taking Purdue. And this line just doesn't make sense to me, that could be a scary thing. But Purdue is way better than Michigan State. It's not even close. And it does depend on which Purdue team shows up because we've seen Purdue not show up in big moments, but we know about Edey, but Purdue can be really dangerous when it comes to those mid-range jumpers. The line I'm taking is over 73.5, the Purdue team total. Very rarely do they go under 75 when they win a game. But if we go over to the Michigan State side of things, of their 13 losses this year, there's only 3 of those losses where they have allowed a team, where they've kept a team under that 72, 71, 73 range. So we're looking for Purdue to score 74 points. And I'll tell you, the 3 games where they lost and held a team to low points like under 70, under that 73 was Ohio State, not a very good basketball team, really poor, fired their coach midseason. And they should have. They have a really great roster that's not performing, but nonetheless, not a great team. Indiana, not a great team. And Minnesota, not a great team. The remainder of Michigan State, the remainder of Sparty's losses have allowed what Purdue is in this over-under. Michigan State's going to try and slow it down, but you can't. There's no way possible that a team can slow the game down or even play good defense when you have a team like Purdue that is very deliberate when they have the ball in their hands. Almost every time they have the ball, it's going in. You don't want to foul them because they're really fluid from the line. So over 73.5. If you believe Purdue is winning this game, which they're a 10-point favorite, if you believe Purdue is winning this game, they will be scoring 74 points. The only way that you don't touch this line is if you believe Purdue is going to lose this game.
Well, I will say this. I have Purdue winning the national championship. That's what I have. When I make my bracket, I have this feeling this is their year, and they're going to make a run all the way to the national championship. They have the size. They have the ability. They finally have a team that can shoot the three, which they've had problems for the last couple of years doing. And they're pretty good in the paint. And they're one of the better rebounding teams in the country. So let's see what they can do.
I don't hate that play. The part of that play that I dislike is that the Big Ten is really soft. So their wins total is a little inflated. There's a little fluff in there, because if you were to put Purdue in the Big 12, even, I mean, the Big 12's got some tough teams, or if you put them in the SEC, I don't know what Purdue's defense would look like if they had to play Florida and Bama and Tennessee, or if you put them in the Big 12 and they had to play against Houston. You got to throw the Jayhawks out the window because their two best players are injured, but I think Houston, if somehow that ends up the matchup, it's going to be really disgusting for Purdue. Houston does not play games.
Derek, give us your number 2.
I'm going to NBA. This game tips off in 40 minutes. I'm going to Josh Hart over 26.5 points, rebounds, and assists. So Hart has been on an absolute tear since Julius Randle's been down. I'm sure Errol and Speedy could tell you that. His usage has just gone through the roof. He's a lock for 38, 40 minutes a night with Tom Thibodeau, as long as it's not a blowout, which is the concern here. That's definitely my one worry here with this bet. But we're in Portland. The game total's at 203.5. It's a 12-point spread. So hopefully Portland can keep it close for 3 quarters. Hart gets his 40 minutes. I think he cruises here. He got a triple-double this week. He has 4 career triple-doubles. All 4 of them have come in the span of the last 19 games since Randle has been injured. Hart is probably their best rebounder right now. Between him, Isaiah Hartenstein, who's playing injured right now, his minutes are down, and he's an ancillary playmaker. He's playing that point forward role. Even though he's got the height of a guard, he plays like he's 6'7", 6'8". Like I said, really low point total of 203.5. A lot of rebounding opportunities, a lot of missed shots. Portland is not a good offensive team. So even if Hart isn't chipping in the offensive end, if it's one of those games where he hovers around 8 to 10 points, I think he can make up for it in his rebounding and his assist efforts. So Josh Hart over 26.5 points, rebounds, and assists.
I will say this team is completely different with OG Anunoby. They're a completely different roster when this guy plays. And you saw what they did against the 76ers the other day, how they shut down Maxey. I think they're going to be dangerous. If they can get Randle back, even if he's not 100%, and they get Mitchell Robinson back at even 75%, the Knicks could be dangerous in the playoffs. They could be very, very dangerous against all the top teams in the Eastern Conference. We'll see. I still think it's coming out of the West. We'll see how it works out. And this Celtic team is pretty damn good. Their starting 5 is pretty good. I mean, it's probably the best in the league right now. So we'll see. All right, Wes, give us your number 3.
Well, I mentioned Houston, so I'll just jump to that play. I'm going to lay 8.5 points and take Houston over Texas Tech. Texas Tech had no business beating BYU. They just didn't. Houston is in a world of their own. I would take Houston and lay points against any team in the country right now. The way that they play defense, and not just the way that they play defense, they've held the last 2 games to 45 and 46 points. And the game before that, they were kind of lazy and they held the team to 59 points. Like, Houston is in a world of their own. And when they get a lead, they don't take their foot off the gas. We've seen them with as big as 30-point leads. Their starting 5, you don't know where it's coming from. We've seen games where we've had Shad with 25 points. We've also seen games where they have 4 players with 12 and 15 points. They in this particular game, looking at Texas Tech, they get a lot of assists. They play with the ball a little bit. Well, Houston is top 10 in the country in terms of steals. So one too many passes, Houston's taking that ball from you. Jawan Roberts on the boards is a monster. And Houston is one of those teams, I said it last week on this show, you have to make most of your shots. 45%, I think it's 45.8%-ish is about what Texas Tech is, field goal percentage. That's not good enough against Houston, because if you don't sink that basket, you are not going to get the ball back. You're not going to beat them on the boards most of the time. And Houston, they just don't beat themselves. So 8.5 feels like a gift. We don't know if it's going to be Cryer or Sharp or Shad. I mean, this, I can only believe that Tillman Fertitta, to put his name on that court and the stadium, probably put some really nice NIL money into this roster, because that is not a power team of any sort. And this is a team in their first year in the Big 12. They're determined to just own it. I think they fell short in the tournament last year when they had Marcus Sasser, but this is in Kansas City. I don't have a 20 on Patrick Mahomes, but I would think that he might possibly be in this stadium, and Mahomeboy's going to be disappointed, because again, I believe that Texas Tech had no business beating BYU and beating them and hanging 81 points. That's not what they're not going to see, a team that beats themselves in Houston. I think this Houston team is not going to lose another game until April.
Wow, you're so confident about this Houston team.
They play defense, and they play defense in a way that they score points off of the defense. They get the rebound better than any team in the country. But when you start to look at the top 10 teams, a lot of these teams just don't defend the way that they do. And I also think that they have a fantastic coach, but they also don't have they're playing with a little chip on their shoulder, because they fell short last year, and they went into the tournament with their best player somewhat injured. I said last year, Sasser was the most important player in the entire tournament, because if he's healthy, Houston wins the whole thing. But they can defend against anybody, and the Big 12 is not a joke. Kansas was injured, but they just manhandled them. I mean, completely embarrassed them, and they don't let off the gas. They will run it up if they have an opportunity to. So I'm very confident in Houston. I'm not prepared to make tournament plays right now, because we haven't seen the bracket, but I'm certainly confident that 8.5 is a gift, an absolute gift, a Hanukkah present.
Oh, look at you. You want to sing some dreidel, dreidel, dreidel?
That's not really a Jewish thing. Although what's funny is we take the dreidel is actually a gambling game. For those that don't know, you spin the dreidel, and everybody antes up, and one side of the dreidel you put 2 in. One side.
Is that what got you into gambling, dreidel?
A lot of things got me into gambling. It's the force multiplier behind the whole thing, right?
Yeah, I guess you're right. All right, Derek, give us your number 3.
I'm going college hoops. This game's on at 11:30 right now. Pac-12 hoops. I'm going to take Colorado on the money line over Utah. So they're about a 3-point favorite. I'm cheating a little bit, but I'm not super confident taking them against the spread. I'm just going to take them on the money line, get the win. I think this is going to be a back and forth game, but I'm going to trust Colorado here. There's a huge spot for them. They've won 5 straight. They know that they're fighting for their tournament lives, and I really like the way they match up with Utah. Utah is going to have the front court advantage in about 80% of the games they play, but not against this Colorado team. They get Cody Williams back tonight, the projected lottery pick. He adds a little bit more. He adds an extra element to that offense with his athleticism, the way he can run. They have 3 legit NBA players between Williams, KJ Simpson, Tristan Da Silva. I'm going to trust Colorado here to get the win tonight against Utah.
All right, Wes, give us your final parlay pick of the night.
So this one might be a little bit of a homer play, but I got some stats to back it up. I bleed Ohio State. That's first and foremost. I bleed Ohio State if they were in a chess match against Petey's cousin. But But I'm looking at Wichita State. That whole city is special to me. But Wichita State in their first half total is what I'm looking at, over 32.5. This is a team they got no shot at punching a ticket. They are really bad at defense. Their roster is not terrible, but in the last 3 games, they're averaging 46 points in the first half. And for the season, they're averaging 36 points for the first half. They're so bad defensively that the other team scores so quickly, they get another opportunity really fast. So, but they've shown up in this tournament. I mean, I don't think anybody would have had Wichita State winning a couple games in a tournament and being in the position that they're in right now. Memphis is something of a rival. Every time you watch Wichita State Memphis, it doesn't really matter the rankings. It's a really tight game. But I like them to go over the 32. That number is just like, if you're looking at the stock market, you look at the 200-day moving average, and you start to look at those things, and you don't have to look any further. 32.5 at -105 over for the first half, you can cash your money within an hour of playing it. But the last 3 games, they've been hot. They've been playing on borrowed time and averaging 46 in the first half. 32.5. Again, it feels like a gift. I realize I've said that about the last play, but I like these plays. Shockers. There's so what you do is, hang on. It's the thumb. The thumb
doesn't look right. That doesn't look right.
Well, but so most of us know this. But when you bring out the thumb, it makes a W. So it's the Shockers, and that the thumb.
Is that what they call it now? The Shocker.
Well, at the games, they're throwing up the Shocker sign.
Oh, now you're going to use 2 hands.
Well, I don't think I'm coordinating it, because the thumb.
Shocker. Shocker.
I mean, you know what Petey, you know what a shocker is?
He has no idea what the shocker is.
Well, in the context of the team, it has to do with weeds.
Well, but the actual hand gesture, 2 goes somewhere and 1 goes.
No,
the
he
other.
He doesn't understand that. That's over his head.
But at Wichita State, in Wichita, the thumb makes it. It makes it.
What the hell is that? What are you doing?
I'm trying, Wes. There you go.
There you go. I love it.
What is that with the thumb?
Well, because if I said, hey,
Wes was wiggling the thumb before for the W. Pay attention.
But if I threw a shocker sign at you, the inappropriate one, it would be this. But when you put the thumb up, it becomes Wichita State,
which is what I did.
That's the thing. It's like the TCU Horned Frogs. They do this,
Yes.
and Texas does that. Well, Wichita State has their handshake.
Did you see Speedy? He was, oh my God. Oh, Speedy, you never heard
32.5 in the first half. Go Shocks.
You never heard that before, Speedy?
I have no idea. I'm supporting Wes's Shockers, not your nonsense.
Oh, Derek, give us your final parlay.
Okay. To follow that, it's going to be tough, but I'll do my best. So this one doesn't have a line yet. This game's on Saturday. It's the A10 semifinal between St. Joe's and VCU. I'm expecting VCU to be a very short favorite, anywhere in the ballpark of 1 to 2 points. I'm taking the Hawks all the way, plus money on the money line. If it's down to a pick 'em, I'm still confident taking the Hawks here. Even though they're the 8 seed, this is a really talented team. They're going to have the best player on the floor in Eric Reynolds. This is a team in the non-conference that really asserted themselves. They took Kentucky down to the wire, lost in overtime in Rupp Arena. They were winning that entire game and blew it in the end. They beat Villanova by 13 at the Pavilion at their place, and they beat a Princeton team that's favored to win the Ivy League on starting on Saturday. They have some really impressive wins on their resume. They've lost 5 games by 4 or less in the A10, so I think they've had some tough luck in conference, but they just knocked off 1 seed Richmond today. They get a day to gather their legs as they've played 2 games in a row the last 2 days. And in terms of VCU on the other side, Ryan Odom's our coach. His first year, he was at Utah State last year. This is a total overhaul of what we've gotten used to VCU looking like under Shaka Smart, under Mike Rhodes. We're used to the havoc, fast tempo, play in transition, nonstop, hairs on fire all the time. Ryan Odom couldn't be further from that. He likes to play in the half court. They play at one of the slowest paces in the country. I don't think he has all his guys in yet, and they still have 21 wins. They're still the 5th seed in the A-10. He's a phenomenal coach to get him to this point, but I'm just going to trust the talent here. I'm going to trust the talent. I think in a tournament environment, the Hawks are a really, really tough matchup, especially with Eric Reynolds leading the way. I think he's an NBA player. So if the Hawks are on any plus money, or if they're at a pick 'em, I really like them on Saturday to go to the A-10 championship on Selection Sunday.
Ryan Odom, instant legend for what he did with the great UMBC.
Exactly. I was going to say, we all know him from UMBC, did a good job at Utah State. That guy is a very, very good coach, but I'll be fading him on Saturday.
You don't trust the greatness of the former UMBC coach. By the way, I don't know if either of you know this. I actually picked that because I was calling Virginia overrated all year that year. And like, this is a weird year. It's going to happen. The 16 beats a 1. I didn't pick the one last year, but that year I did.
Look at Speedy. He's got the shocker.
Oh, he did. They won it by 20.
Shocker. He's got the shocker.
They're not shockers. They're retrievers.
Show us the shocker. Show us the shocker.
All right, I'll just try to do it.
Let's do it again.
I was actually more efficient than the first time.
But Petey, the deal is if you do it without the thumb in like a bar or a social,
I wasn't doing it without the thumb.
If you do it without the thumb, it's gonna be a problem.
Wes, I'm taking great pride in the thumb.
Problem, right? Do they know what that means in New York?
No, I don't, and I don't care. I'm taking great pride in the thumb, though.
I'm sure you are.
Can I put it in the chat? There is a slightly, sexual tone to it.
Thank you, Wes. I kind of assumed that with his overlapping, I should say.
But again, I repeat, the thumb makes it Wichita State.
Go ahead, copy him, Speedy.
Yeah.
Show him the thumb again.
Nope. The graphic is up right now. They're not going to see it very well.
I'm gonna send you guys Wichita State T-shirts now.
There you go.
I'm fine with that.
Shockers. It's gonna say shockers.
Are you going to have that sign? You're going to have the sign?
You know what? I'll find a way to do that. I will find a way to do that. Maybe it'll be a picture of my face with a yellow shirt and just.
I can tell you can put a picture of something else. That would be good.
I will be in Wichita next week, and I will stop at the store and get you guys some yellow Shocker shirts.
There we go. Yellow Shocker shirts with a 3-finger discount for Speedy. There you go.
But PD has to wear it. PD has to wear it to a local watering hole and approach somebody and make the sign and do some explaining.
Show him the sign, Speedy. Show him the sign. Show him the sign.
I'll do one more for Wes. Only for Wes, not for you.
What is this?
There you go.
If people watch this, they're probably, what the hell's wrong with that guy?
Well, listen to Wes for context.
How many Wichita State fans did we just create? Go Shocks.
Anyways, boys, thank you. We'll get you on next week. You guys are awesome.
Yeah, have a good week.
See you guys.
Wes and Derek, let's parlay. Fantastic. And we learned what the shocker is. And Speedy knows how to use that thumb of his as well.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's a nasty thumb, Speedy. It's moving with some force. You like that, right?
I have to for that.
Well, you gotta use you gotta get it up there,
Thank you. Wes described that very well.
Get it up there.
Wes described it well.
Move it
That's
up.
all you need to know.
I mean, it's got to go from the bottom to the top. You got to really drill it.
You just have to wiggle it.
You got to wiggle it. You got to wiggle it. How do you think the wiggling would feel?
I'm doing it. It feels.
Does it feel good?
It's fine.
Does it feel good?
It's fine.
How do you think it would feel if you were wiggling it some other place?
What? I'm not going to put my hand in a pile of mud and do it. I don't think Wichita State's going to want to allow people to smuggle some sticky substance in there just to do it. Maybe you convince Max Scherzer to do it because he likes to dip his hand in sticky substances.
What are you going to spider tack your thumb?
No, I'm not Gerrit Cole.
Oh, man. God. Oh, man, Speedy. We're a piece of work. The San Francisco Giants exposed a contract loophole in the new CBA when releasing third baseman J.D. Davis. Davis won his arbitration case, giving him $6.9 million this year, but only have to pay $1.1 million. This happens because the arbitration contracts are not fully guaranteed like the regular contract. This would also apply if an arbitration player is traded, unless the team trading the player agrees to pay a portion of the contract. Recent MLB signing trends have left a lot of veteran hitters unsigned throughout free agency, especially right-handed hitters like Davis. You know, it's so interesting because as you get older, especially pitchers, if you look at pitchers, they're more important for teams, as they get older, to sign those left-handed pitchers. Left-handed pitchers last longer in the MLB. For some reason, they do. And the same thing when it comes to left-handed hitters, because there's such an abundance of right-handed power in the major leagues. There's not enough left-handed power. So if you look at the Yankees over the last couple of years, and the Yankees have been trying to add some left-handed power to their lineup, and they couldn't. And that's been a big attack to Brian Cashman over the last couple of years, because Brian Cashman, for some reason, did not go out and try to find that left-handed power. And what did he do this offseason? They added Verdugo first. They brought him in a trade, and then they landed Juan Soto, two left-handed power bats, to their lineup, which absolutely changes their lineup for the better, especially in a Yankee stadium that's just a short park. When you look at this, and obviously everybody's looking at the deferred money, the Dodgers are starting to wiggle out. And now San Francisco is finding a loophole with contracts and with the new CBA and releasing their third baseman and J.D. Davis. You wonder if this is going to be a trend now. Is this, and now that we see the Dodgers making trends with deferred money, is this going to be a trend now where now teams are figuring out different loopholes where they can obviously with the new rules and maybe the new with the new CBA rule coming out in 2025, which I think is the next time they're going to have the new CBA, the new CBA, right? The new CBA.
I think it's 26.
So, right, so 26. So when you look at now with the way the rules are working and Major League Baseball are trying to find ways, or even teams are trying to find ways to stash money or put money to the side where they can bring in free agents or they can add players in free agency if obviously they don't want a player on their team, on their roster. You wonder if this is going to be a problem moving forward for the MLB and for the MLB to try to figure out when the new CBA comes out in 2026, trying to negotiate the new deal. Well, this with the deferred money and even with a loophole with saving money through the CBA and releasing players for the extra money that they owe them.
Right. Arbitration cases have been very complicated as it is, trying to make it work for these players and bigger name players. A lot of bigger name players have been in arbitration recently, like Pete Alonso, like Juan Soto. Last year with Corbin Burns, how badly the Brewers handled that. And there's going to be that kind of ripple effect could be something that could start with these teams. Now, this is J.D. Davis, who's only making $6.9 million, but there's going to be other guys that are making in the double digits when it comes to arbitration. If teams try to figure out a way when they know they're not going to be there to not have to pay that kind of guaranteed money, they could just try to trade it and make everybody else pay the guaranteed money or make another team pay the guaranteed money, get more value into that. And Fish, I think you brought it up to me when we were texting about it. Like, that's going to be a whole ripple effect for these other bigger name players. J.D. Davis is one player that's going to be a smaller piece, but who knows what could happen, especially with these kind of middle market teams, these like the Giants that can spend money but don't do it as super.
But isn't J.D. Davis an older player?
He's an older player, yeah. And a lot of these guys that are in arbitration, because right now the rule is 3 years after you come up in the major leagues, which some players are coming up younger, yeah. But a lot of these guys, like Pete Alonso, came up later in their time. He came up at 26 years old.
So did Aaron Judge,
right?
And now you're looking at the contract. Look what the Yankees gave Juan Soto to arbitration this year. Was it was the most ever? I think it's $32 million.
Yep.
And
Ohtani got 30 last year.
And Ohtani got 30. So it's a different game. But again, these teams and obviously these new GMs are trying to find loopholes now. And that's why the MLB needs to look into this, because when the new CBA comes out, or they're renegotiating the CBA and some of the rules, because we all know Rob Manfred will not be here in 2026. He already came out and said he's retiring in 2026. So the next guy, the next commissioner that's going to take over, and it's not Theo Epstein, because he's part of ownership right now with the Boston Red Sox and what they're doing over there. So now you're looking at a bigger problem, because now the players union are going to argue this and fight this, because they want to make sure that the players are in control. That's the difference between the MLB and all the other sports. The players are in control with what they can make and what kind of contracts they can get. In the NBA, it's starting to sway that way too, because now, with the bird rights, you can make more money. And now if you're one of the top players in the league, you can get a super max contract in the NBA where you can make over $400 million. Look what we've seen Jaylen Brown get. And now what are we going to see in a future, in probably a year, what Jason Tatum's going to make? He's going to be the first $500 million player.
Right. And the splits with somebody like Davis here are the problems we're seeing in baseball, why so many guys go unsigned for a while too. We were talking about Blake Snell being one of the big names unsigned, but think about all the other hitters and all these other pitchers that have not been unsigned. And it's been a pattern for really since, I would say, 2015 was the ripple effect of that, in the kind of that StatCast era beginning, where all these older hitters are taking a while to re-sign, and they either go for that 1-year deal like you saw Cody Bellinger do last year with the Cubs. Now he signs a big contract, bet on himself, but it doesn't always work that way, and then you're stuck with nothing. And JD Davis is the example of that. There's going to be more teams that do that kind of thing, especially these middle market teams.
And it's only $6.9 million, but it saves some of these teams, especially the small market teams. San Francisco is a small market team compared to obviously the Yankees, the Red Sox, and even the Houston Astros. Right. These teams are big market teams. San Francisco was really never a big market team. Now, obviously they're in California, but the two big market teams in California are really the Dodgers and the LA Angels. They're in LA. And by the way, the Dodgers don't even sell out their games, but because they have they have a group of, owners that have so much money, Magic Johnson's team ownership, they're willing to throw anything into the team if it's going to win them championships, as you see with the deferred money with Friedman and Betts, and now obviously Ohtani, Yamamoto. So they're making, they know no matter what, by the advertising and obviously the jerseys they're going to sell, these players are going to bring in money, and no matter what, they're going to be able to they're going to be able to pay these players because of the money they're bringing in through revenue. So you look at this situation, San Francisco don't have any stars. They have nothing there, and they've been trying to bring in a star. They tried to go after Aaron Judge. They couldn't get Aaron Judge. Then they went after Correa. Correa they brought in, but Correa had all these injury problems. They were going to give him $300 million when they obviously went through that whole situation with them, the medical end of it. They said, you know what, we don't want him. Then they went after Aaron Judge. Aaron Judge wanted to be a Yankee. And then they supposedly they went after Ohtani, and Ohtani decided to go to the Dodgers.
Yeah, they offered him, I think, $600 million for Ohtani.
Yeah, so they can't land that big star. They had Barry Bonds. It doesn't look like they're going to. And now they're trying to wonder, or they're probably wondering how they can fill in their stadium and bring in the fans. And right now, who are you going to buy? There's no Buster Posey there anymore. There's nothing. They don't have it. That pitching staff, when obviously where they had a fantastic team put together, one of the greatest managers in Major League Baseball, they won 3 championships in 6 years. Now, this team will be lucky if they can get into the playoffs, and they're trying to save money. They're trying to figure out loopholes where they can throw money out and trade players that they don't need. And they don't need them a part of the roster, so they can maybe in the future, if a player like Juan Soto becomes available, because they're going to offer an overpaid amount of money to Juan Soto, and that's why the Yankees are going to lose him, because there are going to be teams lining up to offer him between $600 and $650 million. He's not quite going to get Ohtani money, but he's going to be right under that. I don't understand why you wouldn't get Ohtani money. He's an everyday player, but nevertheless, and he's still he's younger than Ohtani. So I would absolutely give Juan Soto this $600-700 million, and that's why he is no longer going to be a Yankee. And this was a rental for the New York Yankees. So I don't like this. And again, baseball, there's laws and there's rules that you can break. And right now in the rule book does not say that when you're about to go into arbitration, that you could drop a player that you don't have to pay him. So
all the unwritten rules.
It happens. Bill Belichick knew how to find him.
Oh yeah.
So I did some research on this, guys, and they call this the file and trial move. And it's only since the 2022 CBA that this is something. And it was supposed to discourage people from getting to arbitration so that this wouldn't happen. But it's just such a bad look for San Francisco to cut their, they traded they signed Matt Chapman to play third base instead of JD Davis. He's obviously an upgrade, but they just cut this guy late in the spring. He's not going to be able to find the team at a good salary at the same way he would have if they did this earlier and they just went their separate ways. The agents blaming president of the Giants. The Giants are blaming the agent. It's ugly, and it's over less than $6 million. If you're going to pinch pennies like that on guys and mess up with their whole living situation, their career, are they just giving up on going after these guys, Errol, because they struck out and they're just going to become the Oakland A's and moneyball it? Because I don't know what else they're doing, because who wants to go to a team that's just going to cut their starter like that so cold? That has had a couple of good little run after having a tough time with everyone's favorite team, Speedy, uneven performance there. So, I find it to be pretty short-sighted. And I kind of wanted to bring up the best way to do this is what the Atlanta Braves do.
Yes.
The Atlanta Braves do these pre-arbitration eligible extensions or arbitration eligible extensions. And they have locked down, I'm going to read them off to you, Austin Riley for 10 years at $21 million per. That's a lot less than Ohtani. Matt Olson, $21 million per for 8 years. Acuna, $12.5 million for 8 years they have him. Spencer Strider, arguably best pitcher in baseball, 6 years, $12.5 million. Sean Murphy, $12 million for another 6 years. Michael Harris, 8 years, $9 million. Ozzie Albies, he's getting $5 million a year for the next 7 years.
Mm-hmm.
This is a masterclass by the Atlanta Braves. This is why they're better than everybody right now.
They just can't win a championship.
Well, look, the thing is,
they did win one.
The Giants are doing they did. And they're loaded.
They should have been.
They should be.
The Braves should be winning, and the Braves should be winning every single year. They're better than the Dodgers. I think on paper, from top to bottom, when it comes to their roster, their pitching staff, and their bullpen, they're better than the Dodgers. Even with Ohtani and Yamamoto, they're better than the Dodgers. But for some reason, they just can't win. They just can't find a way to win.
But Fish, you also bring up a good point with the process of what the Braves are doing, which is also a good combined value for career player earnings too. The players are not going to have to sit on rookie contracts with making less than $1 million or whatever, suffering through the first how many years of arbitration, however it'll take. They can make that same level of combined value. It'll help the team because they can balance out the roster, and it'll help out the player for the combined earnings they get in their career, and they can still get a big contract either with the Braves or somebody else later.
Would you rather do what the Braves did and sign all their guys? So like we just saw with Saquon leaving the Giants, so that your guys never leave, your fan base is bought into them. Or would you like to mortgage 20 years down the road like the Dodgers are with their deferred money on all these guys, where in 15 years, maybe they don't win more than 50 games for 3 years or 4 or 5 years in a row. I know I would rather have this Braves move. I think what they're doing is by far the best in baseball. And I don't know why people aren't copying it and how the Giants can get it so wrong.
All right. Who do we have on the phone?
We got Jeff.
Jeff, what's up, bud?
Do you really think that the Yankees won't pay Juan Soto?
I don't. I do not believe the Yankees are going to be able to give him what he is going to be asking for. No, I don't. And Gerrit Cole,
have all the money, but they're going to have all the cash in the world, though.
Why?
Right? Because the Yankees are probably going to end up suing the makers, the Spider Strength LLC, right? Because aren't they going to get a huge amount of money from suing Spider Tack for hurting Gerrit Cole?
Stop, Jeff. Could you stop with this? Are you calling up to attack the Yankees or actually give us a real professional answer?
No, I think that they should sue the makers of Spider Tack. We can't find out what's wrong with Gerrit Cole's arm. They should be getting money back from Rodon. even though it was a great contract, they should be getting money back because he doesn't seem to have the fastball this year either.
What's wrong with you?
So far in spring training, his hardest fastball has only been 91 miles an hour. That's not great.
You know what's so funny about you? You like wait for the perfect time to call into the show and just attack. Just jump on it. You know what? I'm going to bring up Spite Attack. I'm going to bring up Carlos Rodon and his terrible pitching over the last couple of really the last year and a half, and in spring training because he can't throw over 91. We all know.
You don't think his arm strength is. I get that it's still kind of early in spring training, but he's coming off a bunch of rest. You don't think that the low velocity on his fastball is concerning?
Oh, I've been saying that it's concerning, but again, we've seen this before. We've seen this with Jacob deGrom when he was in spring training. He was throwing 91, 92, and then all of a sudden, when the season started, he was throwing 95, 96. We also saw this with Noah Syndergaard here in New York. He was throwing the ball. He was throwing his sinker ball at 88, 80, 87 when he was throwing 93, 94. And then all of a sudden, season starts, he's throwing 93, 94 again. I don't know. And maybe, and Rodon said he believes his velocity will go up as spring training moves forward. So he believes it. So we have to wait and see. If it is, the Yankees are in a lot of trouble.
I didn't hear that he had said that.
Yes, he did.
Yes,
he did.
Yeah. I honestly didn't hear that he had said that. All I had seen was that he's only throwing 91, and I'm like, geez, like that's not great for a guy that's had all winter off, you know?
He did speak to the press, and the press asked him, is it concerning that you're throwing 91 at your fastball when you're usually throwing 96, 97 with the movement that you have? And he said, listen, it's spring training. I took off half the off season and strengthened my arm. And he said, I believe the velocity will get harder as spring training moves forward. So he already said that he believes that he'll be fine. But again, it is concerning. The Yankees should be concerned. They gave him a 6-year extension worth about, what was it, 160 million, 150 million. The Yankees should be concerned about that. There's no doubt about it. And hopefully he's telling the truth. I don't know. I'm not Carlos Rodon. I'm not his wife, and I'm not his father, who he speaks about baseball. He's always there in spring training. I see his father more than I see him half the time over there in spring training. So,
well, I'll tell you the thing that concerns me, and you're obviously going to scream, oh, you're attacking them, but I don't think it's an attack because it's true. I don't trust the Yankees training staff to get a pitcher healthy.
I would agree with you. I would agree with you. I'm not going to lie.
So, like, that's why the low velocity on the fastball, and they're saying, oh, he'll be fine. I don't trust them bastards. They lied to us about everyone else that they were working with.
Yeah, I'm worried about that. And obviously the whole Aaron Judge situation. Aaron Judge came out a couple of weeks ago and they asked him about his foot, and is his foot 100% healthy? He says his foot will never be 100% healthy after that. He says, if I'm lucky, it's 90%. I'm like, you just got an 8 or 9 year deal extension worth about $360 million. You're 280 pounds. You're built like an ox. That's concerning if you're a Yankee fan, if you're never going to be 100% at that foot. So, yeah, I am worried about it. And I don't trust the training staff. The training staff is never right about this. The Mets have been just as bad as the Yankees.
They've been worse.
They've been horrific. So, and that's what worries me about the Yankees. Yeah, Aaron Judge, and then what happens when Juan Soto goes down this year, if he goes down? What are the Yankees going to do?
But not for nothing, it's a toe with Aaron Judge. Just amputate it and move on.
Amputate it.
It's not an arm or a leg. It's a toe. Cut it off and be done with the injury.
They're not cutting off his toe. Honestly,
one way to get him back on the field, though, isn't it?
Honestly, well, he's going to play. He already said he's going to play with it no matter what. And he said that he still believes he's going to be the power hitter that he is, and he still believes he's going to hit over 40 home runs this year and 100 RBIs and be one of the league leaders. So he came out and said that he's confident about the level he's going to play at this year. And with Juan Soto in between him and Giancarlo Stanton, he says that this could be one of the best offense, if not the best offense in baseball. We'll see what happens, but I don't trust Giancarlo Stanton, and I don't trust Aaron Judge to be healthy a whole season in 162 games.
And it's got to make him really happy that he'll probably win the AL MVP now that he got Shohei Ohtani to switch leagues. That was good for him.
He didn't get anything, first of all. Ohtani decided he wanted to go to the Dodgers. And again, he didn't want to play for the Angels, and the Dodgers are built to win. He never was on a team this talented before. He's got Friedman, he's got Betts, he's got a pitching staff. When Buehler comes back
By the way, can Mookie Betts just do it all, by the way, because he plays the outfield, he played second base last year, and now he's their full-time shortstop? Like, what can't Mookie Betts do?
I will say this, and you're right. Mookie Betts is one of the best all-around players in the league. Yamamoto doesn't look good. I know it's spring training, but he has been getting hit all spring training. I think he's played 2 spring training games. I think he has a 9 ERA. That's bad. Now, I know it's spring training, but that's alarming when you just gave a guy that's never pitched in the major leagues almost over $300 million. That's worrisome. And if I was the Dodgers right now, I'd be worried right now going into the season, trusting that Yamamoto is going to be their number one, because that's what he is. He's going to be their number one until Buehler comes back.
Kershaw's still there.
Kershaw is not the number one. He's the number 3.
He'll pitch in that spot.
Yamamoto is their number one right now.
He might pitch the opening day, but he's not going to pitch as a number one the whole season.
Buehler is their number one when Buehler comes back. I love that name, Buehler.
Well, what happens when you start opening day? So what happens if he starts opening day speedy? He would be number 1 in the rotation. So then it would be the next guy. You need to go 5 days.
I don't know if Kershaw's starting. I think it's Yamamoto to start.
Again, I think that's too much of a formality anyway. You're trusting them to pitch like a number 1 pitcher is 2 different things. I don't really care about the label of, all right, this guy's happening to be an opening day starter. They're going to strategize it the whole season in a larger sample.
He's going to pitch against every other team's number 1. So what would that make?
Not really.
Not all the time, Jeff. They can obviously, if Kershaw doesn't start the season strong, they can move him to every 6th day. They're not going to put too much on his arm. And we all know Clayton Kershaw is a shell of himself. He's one of the greatest pitchers we've seen, one of the greatest left-handed pitchers we've seen in this era, but he's not the same pitcher.
Right. It's also not direct competition either. Like you're pitching against another guy. It's not like a receiver going up against a corner. It's a number 1 going against somebody else's number 3. It's going to be random all year.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah. And Jeff, also, Yamamoto, they've already talked about is maybe not going every 5th day because he hasn't had that experience yet overseas. Right. So it's probably likely you're going to see a mix of 6 guys for the Dodgers this year. Yeah. So you're not going to get them matched up with their number 1 guys.
And the thing is when Buehler comes back, he is going to be their predominant number 1. He's their best pitcher. There's no question that he is going to be their best pitcher. And he's a free agent after this year. So he can go wherever he wants. And I'm going to tell you this right now. There'll be teams lining up for a guy like Buehler if he's 100% healthy and he comes back at 100%. So, everybody keeps talking about Corbin Burns. I think Buehler will be the best pitcher available in the offseason if he pitches well and he comes back healthy. He hasn't been healthy for really almost 2 years. Right. It's been a big problem with health. So we will see if Buehler comes back and he's at 100%.
But they also have another number 1 on that roster, though, too. Mm-hmm. Like, you may not think he's a number 1 or you'll nitpick it or say something fucking stupid, but Tyler Glasnow is there now, too. And he was pretty goddamn awesome.
You're going to trust Tyler Glasnow. By the way,
Tyler Glasnow, up until he got hurt, was the best pitcher in all of
Listen to his last name, Glasnow. He's built like a piece of glass. That guy breaks down every year. That guy is never 100% healthy. He's a great pitcher, and they gave him $100 million, so good for them. And it was actually not deferred money. But I'm going to tell you this right now. I am not going to trust Tyler Glasnow this year. He's great. To me, if he's 100%, he could be a number 1. But he is not going to stay healthy all season long. The guy's tall. He puts a lot of strain on his arm when he throws the ball. He's got a weird release. And the way he lands on his foot, it puts a lot of pressure on his ankles, his toes, and his knees. So I'm interested to see if Glasnow stays 100% healthy this year. I don't believe it.
Before we go to break and get our guest on, Keith says the Yankees and Mets training staff suck. Well, yeah, the Mets did fire people, and they still can't figure it out.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but the Yankee thing was how often did they lie to you about all of their pitchers? Who was the guy? What, not Soriano? Goddamn, who was the guy that was always coming back and then never came back?
Severino.
Severino,
Yeah.
yeah, not Soriano. Severino. Every week with Severino.
He's a Met now,
you're
by
like,
the way.
He's getting close. He's getting close. He's getting close. Yeah.
He's going to be the Mets' best pitcher this year. You mark my words. I'm telling you right now, Luis Severino will be the best pitcher for the New York Mets. I'm not going to bet on Quintana. I'm not going to bet on Peterson or any Miguel, whoever they have pitching in that rotation. It is going to be Luis Severino. Senga, we don't know when Senga's coming back, if he's going to be back.
Yeah.
You know, he has shoulder problems. Usually when they have shoulder problems, then they have elbow problems, and then surgery. The way he throws the ball, that changeup, that torque on his arm, he's 30 years old. He put a lot of torque on that arm for 10, 11 years in the Japanese league. I'm not going to bet that Senga is going to come back 100% this year. And I said that I want to see what he does in his sophomore year. I knew he was going to pitch well in his first year. I don't know. We've seen Japanese pitchers. They come into the league. They light the league on fire, like Masahiro Tanaka. And then after that, and I'm not saying Tanaka wasn't good for the Yankees, but he was a shell of what he was his first season. So, and there were other guys too that we've seen come in. Ohtani.
Daisuke Matsuzaka is another one.
Yeah.
Daisuke came in and had a great first year. Everyone's like, this kid's amazing. And then he went right off that Max Kellerman cliff.
Mm-hmm. Max Kellerman.
Well, someone has to go off that cliff. Brady didn't.
By the way, I have to watch the last 2 episodes. That's so I want to see.
I mean, Kellerman was predicting the Brady cliff for like 5 years before he retired. It never happened.
And that's why Kellerman is no longer working for ESPN.
You know what's funny? I just watched a documentary about him. You have to go and watch this thing.
What's the documentary?
Dude, do you know about his brother?
No.
Oh my God, dude, you have to see this thing.
What is the documentary?
So him and his brother were both like really big into boxing and all that. You know, that's how he got his whole thing. And his brother was supporting this boxer and had him move in with him. And like a year after moving into with him, he beat him to death with a hammer.
What?
Yes, dude.
You gotta send me the name of the documentary. I'll watch it tomorrow.
It was crazy. Yeah, it's like I think the dude's name was Butler. Dude, just Google Max Kellerman brother. Like, find
He's
out
right.
what it was.
I'll check.
20 years ago.
I'll check it out. I definitely.
Did you just look at it, Fish?
20 years ago.
20 years ago, it happened.
Yeah, dude. It was and it was crazy, dude. Like, I had no idea about this dude's history. It is wild.
Jeff, thank you for calling. Call back later.
All right, sounds great. Sorry about the spider attack.
When we come back, our second guest, we will be talking to Forever Blueshirts writer and on-air talent, Stephen Pappas. But first, our Sports Minute with Tommy Scoops.
This is the Sports Loudmouth Sports Minute.
Are you ready to get loud?
With Tommy Scoops.
That is right, ladies and gentlemen. Like I said, I am back for another update on the Sports Loudmouth Sports Minute. I am your guy, Tommy Scoops. And right now, the current scoop is in the NBA. Minnesota Timberwolves center Karl Anthony Towns has had successful meniscus surgery, and he is currently going to be reevaluated by the team in 4 weeks. The Orlando Magic are going to be extending head coach Jamal Mosley with 4 years contract. He is currently in the middle of a franchise turnaround, and his team is currently 38-28. Other news right now, John Wall says that he is currently interested in returning to the NBA and possibly for the Miami Heat. He says him joining the newly acquired point guard, Terry Rozier, he says that he could very much help them a lot. Shifting over to the NFL, the Giants announced that Daniel Jones and Drew Lock will be competing for their quarterback 1 position. Daniel Jones, who got his hefty contract extension last season, is going to be competing with the newly acquired quarterback Drew Lock. In other news, Packers are going to be extending running back A.J. Dillon, meaning that he will be sharing the backfield with new running back Josh Jacobs. Now it's time for Scoops of Scores. So I'm going to give you a quick rundown of the scores that are going on right now. And in the NBA right now, Houston is currently leading 125 against Washington, with Milwaukee leading 98-92 against the 76ers. Right now, OKC and Dallas also just tipped off with both of them tied up at 2 apiece. and over in the NHL. Right now, Toronto has a 6-1 lead over Philadelphia. New Jersey has a 5-2 lead over Dallas, with Minnesota having a 2-0 lead over Anaheim. It's currently all the time I have for you guys right now. I'm going to send it back to the boys for their next guest on the Sports Loudmouth.
This is the Sports Loudmouth.
631-672-3108 is the number to call. You're listening to the Sports Loudmouth. I'm your host, Errol Marks, my co-host, the Speedster. And he likes to play with his fingers, by the way. Show us the fingers again, Speed. Show us the thumb. Show us. There you go. There you go. There you go. Ladies and gentlemen, go to our website at www.worldwidesportsradio.com. Check out all of the shows throughout the week, including The Loudmouth with me, Speedy Petey, and Sean Smith, ex-NFL player Sean Smith, every single Wednesdays and Thursdays at 7 p.m. All you have to do to tune in and check out your local listings is you go to our website at www.worldwidesportsradio.com. This guy has been waiting patiently, and we're very happy to have him on, as it is not Anthony Sculteri, because if he was, there'll be a lot of fighting, ladies and gentlemen. We are talking to forever Blueshirts writer and on-air talent, Stephen Pappas. Stephen, what's up, man?
I'm just trying to digest whatever on earth I just watched from the Rangers and Tampa Bay Lightning game, because that was a disastrous third period from the Rangers standpoint.
You know, it's so interesting because when we look at this, the offseason for the New York Rangers, they made a couple of big moves. They added some size. They added, obviously, have a couple of goons on the team right now that a lot of people don't like, as we all know what the New Jersey Devil fans want to do to one of the goons on the Rangers. They're a completely different team this year. They've marked on, they were built for years on goaltending. And this year, they've been up and down in goaltending. Jonathan Quick was there. He was playing as well as he is. And now all of a sudden, Igor's finally figuring things out. What are your thoughts going into the season this year? Did you think that this team was going to play as well under Peter Laviolette?
Honestly, I mean, I think like most of us, I had them at third in the division. I thought the Devils would be a lot better than they were this year. And Carolina is what Carolina is. They're a very good hockey team. They just shut out the Florida Panthers tonight 4-0. So now they're back to 4 points behind the Rangers. But truthfully, I thought they were a third team in the division. I would say at worst, I didn't think they were a wild card team. They've surprised me this year. They've been a lot better than I thought. If they go, I think it's 10-6 over their last 16 games, they break their franchise record in wins. Which is something that, wasn't something you were thinking about at the start of the year. You were just, assuming they were going to make the playoffs, end up facing a team like New Jersey or a team like Carolina. And, you thought it'd be a kind of ho-hum year. And here they are in, March 14th, and the best team in the Metropolitan Division and one of the best teams in the Eastern Conference and one of the best teams in the league. Unfortunately, tonight, not so much. Let one go against the Tampa Bay Lightning, but they played a very good first period, and if you turn the game off after the first period, you'd have thought that they would just sit there and dominate the rest of the game. Unfortunately, they didn't, but they've had a very good stretch over the last, say, month and a half that has put them in a position to sit here at the deadline. It was underwhelming, but it doesn't mean it was bad. I mean, these guys, Jack Roslovic, Alex Wenberg, we haven't seen Chad Ruedel yet, but they've come in and made some impacts. Roslovic with a goal and an assist tonight. Wenberg had an assist in one of those games. And I think, you go back to the 2022 deadline and they fit the same build as the the Cops and the Vetranos that they picked up at that deadline. It's not sexy, but it works.
Yeah, so I wanted to ask about the Kreider and Mika Zibanejad. Both, a lot of other Ranger analysts have said they've had issues in 5-on-5 hockey this year at certain points, sometimes defensively. I know you were very positive of Zibanejad's defense the first time we had you on the show. Like, what are your thoughts to the fits of those two this year and what they need to do in the playoffs?
Yeah, I mean, you look at it from in a vacuum and you see Zibanejad's almost at a point per game this year, and you think about, he can't be playing that poorly. Offensively, it's hit or miss with him. He's a goal scorer, and this year he's been about as ice cold as they come at 5-on-5. Got his first 5-on-5 goal since, I believe it was December 26th against the Devils. So that's an extended period of time without a 5-on-5 goal. He went a long stretch of time without a goal in general. but he's done a lot of other things well that maybe people don't want to necessarily hear about. And especially from a top line center, you'd want them to produce offensively, but he's on a penalty kill that's top 5 in the league or top 10 in the league. He plays excellent defense. We talked with Larry Brooks earlier this year, and he mentioned that what goes unknown with Zibanejad is that he kind of makes up for Kreider's defensive deficiencies. And he's the first guy back as a forward. He's always thinking defense first, which could end up being a reason why he hasn't had that many opportunities this year to score goals. And when he's had the opportunities, he's kind of flubbed on them. But I'm not worried about Zibanejad. I think when you get towards the playoff time, you need structured defense. You need a strong penalty kill. And the 5-on-5 offense, that needs to get better. That's the one area where that top line needs to get better. And truthfully, with Jack Roslovic joining that top line, they've had a spark that they haven't really had all season. I don't know if it's just fresh blood coming in and being able to play with the new guy, or if Jack Roslovic is the answer to get that top line going. But ever since he's come in, they've had some pretty good chances at 5-on-5 with that line.
We are talking to Forever Blueshirts writer and on-air talent, Stephen Pappas. Stephen, two teams that needed to make moves to make their team better is the Panthers, who acquired Vladimir Tarasenko at the trade deadline from the Senators for a 3rd and a 4th round pick. And another team, the Penguins, trading away Jake Gensel to the Hurricanes, a team that is chasing the Rangers right now for, 3 prospects and a conditional 1st and a 5th. They gave up a lot, and Michael Bunting, but they gave up a lot, but they added a great goal scorer. What did you think about these moves, and what does that say about, what does this do to the Rangers, and what does that say to the Rangers moving closer to the playoffs?
Well, it's hard not to look at those two teams and think that they're probably not the class of the Eastern Conference. I know the Rangers just shut out Carolina, who just shut out the Panthers tonight. So it's just a circle of shutouts at the top of the Eastern Conference. But, the Rangers didn't want to give up Othman or Perreault. And that seemed to be the big reason why they weren't able to go out and get Jake Gensel, which good on them. I don't think the Rangers need to be chasing and giving up guys that have proven themselves to a degree as their top prospects. I don't think they needed to be chasing. Would I have liked them to get Jake Gensel? Yes, but at the expense of those two, probably not. Especially, I think more along the lines of that being an in-division team. I mean, you don't want to see Brennan Othman or Gabe Perreault for the next 15 years if you don't have to. Carolina had the assets to do it, and they weren't married to their prospects in the same way that the Rangers were. So that's basically what got the Bunting or the Gensel deal over the line. And as for Florida, I mean, they're a juggernaut at the moment. I mean, I was watching their game a couple nights ago against Dallas. They were down 3-1 in the 3rd period. I think they were down 3-0 actually. They were down 3-1 in the 3rd period, scored 4 unanswered goals in like 6 minutes to beat a very good Dallas Stars team in Dallas. So obviously those two teams are ones that you're going to have to worry about come playoff time, but winning the Stanley Cup's not easy. It's not an easy thing to do. You got to beat the good teams if you want to win a Stanley Cup. And I think the Rangers have the ability to do that, especially if Igor's playing well. If they're structured in their defensive zone and the neutral zone, which they were against Carolina, they were for the first period tonight against the Tampa Bay Lightning, they can hang with any team in the Eastern Conference to get to the Stanley Cup. And I think they can hang with most teams in the Western Conference. They've beaten Dallas. They've beaten Colorado. I think the only team they haven't beaten this year is Vegas. And, they loaded up as well. But there's no guarantee that they're getting in the playoffs because they're still the second wild card team out in the West. I would be very shocked if they didn't. But I think the Rangers can hang with any team in the Eastern Conference. And I think their deadline, while underwhelming, was still a very successful one so far.
So any moves that you would have wanted them to make of players that did get traded to other teams? And also, you mentioned the 2 top prospects for the Rangers. Is there any of those players that you would have, even if it was kind of under the radar, maybe somebody didn't expect them to trade one of those guys for?
Jake Gensel is obviously a guy I would have loved to see them get. Truthfully, there wasn't really a game breaker at right wing other than Gensel, who truthfully plays left wing. He's not a right wing player. So, the fit might have been a little awkward. That last second deal with Roslovic, I thought was a surprise. And I think getting him out of Columbus could be good. I think he's been good and can be good down the line for the Rangers. if you talk about guys that I wish they went after, there wasn't a ton. I mean, usually those off the board guys are, guys with term that you don't necessarily believe would get dealt at the deadline, i.e. Tomas Hertl going to Vegas, a guy that has 6 years left on his contract that Vegas somehow got San Jose to retain. I think it's like 15% over the next 6 years. I don't know what San Jose is doing in that regard. And truthfully, I don't know how Vegas keeps getting away with this stuff, but not really any off the board guys. I like what they did at the deadline. It's very reminiscent of 2022. Some role guys, a guy that you could plug in at the top with Kreider and Zibanejad. That is a good facilitator of the puck, and he's very good off the rush, which is something that Kreider and Zibanejad haven't really done this year. But they're most dangerous off the rush. Mika and Chris, they both go with speed, and when they're not going with speed, they look like their skates are tied down with cinder blocks. And I think Roslovic has been able to rejuvenate them a little bit through the first 4 or 5 games that he's played with them. But to answer your question, off the board, didn't really have a guy that I was looking at. And I don't really envision them giving up on Othman or a Perreault, especially if you look down the line 2 years from now. Probably when Perreault would be ending up in the NHL is when the contract of Artemi Panarin comes up. And we don't know what they're going to do with him at that point. So we'll see. They got Mika locked up for a long time. They got Kreider locked up for a long time. So we'll see about that. I didn't want them to give up either one of those guys, to be honest.
2 Metro teams right now, the Devils and the Islanders. The Devils obviously fire Lindy Ruff. They make a trade, Tyler Toffoli and defenseman Colin Miller to the Jets. And that was an interesting move by them. And they look like they're giving up on the season. The Islanders, they obviously dropped Lane Lambert early in the season. They bring in Patrick Waugh. Patrick Waugh did not look like a shell of himself as a coach, what he did in the junior league last year, winning a championship. But for some reason, the Islanders picked up their game. They won like 5, 6, 7 games in a row, and they're playing great hockey right now. They're in the final wild card spot. Well, what are your thoughts about both these teams chasing the New York Rangers? And do you think that obviously the Islanders, if they could sneak into the playoffs, are they a dangerous team for the New York Rangers to play?
Yes, the Islanders are, strictly because of Ilya Sorokin, and I know he's had a shaky year by his standards to this point. The Islanders are just so hit or miss with me at the moment. I've watched them a few times this year, and there's stretches where they look really good. They get guys like Horvat and Barzal going, but I think the inconsistencies with the Islanders are could hinder them in a playoff spot. Truthfully, I want to talk about, now that I've moved to Rochester, I actually mentioned this with our sports guys that are at the station that I work for. I don't know if it's just me being, ignorant or still green to this area, but I love the Buffalo Sabres. I love what the Buffalo Sabres are doing right now. They have a goalie in Ukko-Pekka Luukkonen that has been one of the best goalies in the NHL.
Ukko-Pekka Luukkonen.
Fantastic. That's a great UPL. They call him UPL up here. They've scored. They've never stopped scoring. Their defense has been shored up at the trade deadline. Getting Bowen Byram.
I want you to say that 3 times as fast as you can.
Ukko-Pekka Luukkonen, Ukko-Pekka Luukkonen, Ukko-Pekka Luukkonen. It's Finnish. It rolls off the tongue.
That was impressive.
All those
really good.
all those Finnish names just kind of roll off the tongue. They're all very phonetic.
They don't roll off my tongue, man. I know that something rolls off Speedy's fingers.
From a goalie, I hope it's not the puck.
Going back to the Islanders, I think they can give the Rangers some trouble. I still think the Rangers are a better team than the Islanders. The Devils, the Rangers have kind of they've put them in a speed bag this year, and frankly, after the last postseason, it's fantastic to see that. I don't see the Devils making a run. They're beating the Stars right now, which is great. Not great for the parlay I had going on tonight, but you win some, you lose some. But the Devils have too many goaltending issues. Dougie Hamilton's been out for the year. They've lost a lot on defense. Jonas Siegenthaler's out. Nate Bastian has been out since the Rempe incident. Both of those guys, the Rempe incident. I can't see the Devils making a run, truthfully, with their goaltending. The Islanders possibly, but of the New York teams that I think could sneak in, I really think it's the Buffalo Sabres. They got the offense to do it. Their defense now with Bowen Byram has been shored up. Rasmus Dahlin. And their goaltending with UPL has been absolutely fantastic. I know New Yorkers forget about Buffalo being a city in the state, but I think I'm going to say this now. I'll say it on camera. I think the Sabres get in.
It's easy to forget when they have the longest playoff drought in the NHL. So
Listen, as a Jets fan, it gives me hope if they can make the playoffs that the Jets can get in at some point.
Errol doesn't have hope as a Jet fan.
Oh, please. Steven.
Our vice president quarterback.
That's not going to happen.
Rodgers.
That was just a story. That's why we don't speak about it on this show, because there's nothing to speak about. There's no way in hell he's running for vice president. It was just a story to try to sell it to the press, where the press can make stories up and predict whatever they want to predict. He is not running for vice president, just so everybody knows.
That's peak Jets, though. I mean, there's no other team that could do that. They can have a story like that come out.
There's no other stupid team that would say something like that.
Exactly.
Oh, no, I wouldn't rule out the Nats either.
Yeah. So
who knows?
Unfortunately, a fan of them as well.
It figures the Jets want to be the center of attention.
Well, yeah, we know that already.
Even though it wasn't the Jets that did this. If I were the Jets, I would have kept this out of the media. And it's not really the Jets' fault, because it was Robert Kennedy Jr.'s. I think it was his publicist that said something about it. It wasn't really even Aaron that said it.
True, but Woody Johnson, and you know those too, Steven. You know Woody Johnson's going to break into the fullest.
Woody loves it. I mean, it makes the Jets the center of attention, even though it has nothing to do with the Jets.
Nothing like the Jets being the center of attention for no reason whatsoever.
Well, here's the problem with that. All it does is it hurts the Jets, because if he does run and they do win, which they're not, they lose Aaron Rodgers for 4 years. So he's done. He's no longer a Jet. So there was a waste. So, and they lose the second round draft pick. They didn't lose their first. So that's a good thing. But I mean, the Jets they're just a joke. I hope this Morgan Moses move was a good move for the Jets. I hope they figure out, maybe they bring in Bakhtiari and maybe somebody else, Smith, and they try to reboot that offensive line. But it's scary. And no matter how good, they're saying Aaron Rodgers put on like 10 pounds of muscle. I mean, does it really matter if he's going to get hit every single time behind the line of scrimmage? I mean, come on. He can run for vice president. It don't matter. He can run for general. It wouldn't matter to me. Okay, so.
So I was going to ask, you mentioned the Vegas Golden Knights doing what they did at the trade deadline. A lot have been making of the controversial cap loophole. The Lightning did it a couple of years ago with Kucherov and Stamkos. What are your thoughts on that kind of thing? And if you were to change it, maybe to compromise it, is there a strategy you would put in mind?
Yeah, so it's a tough subject with Vegas, because Mark Stone goes on IL or IR, whatever you want to call it, and all of a sudden they're freed up $7 or $8 million in cap space. That being said, Mark Stone's got a lacerated spleen. That's not an injury that you mess with. That's not an injury. That's a legitimate injury. Jack Eichel's been hurt all year. He came back, I believe, before the trade deadline, so that long-term IR money came off the boards at their trade deadline. But listen, Kelly McCrimmon is one of one as GMs in the National Hockey League. I mean, only him right now. I heard somebody say it. I don't remember exactly who it was, but the Vegas Golden Knights operate like you or I would when we're in Vegas. And it's just every year, throw all the money down, make it work, find a way. And they're one of the best run organizations in the National Hockey League. And, it's all because of Kelly McCrimmon. He's able to find these loopholes or whatever you want to call it, but he's able to make deals. Like, to get the Sharks to retain on Tomas Hertl for 6 years is insane. I don't know what other organization does that. And frankly, that's probably why the San Jose Sharks have been a dumpster team for the last 5 or 6 years, 4 or 5 years, whatever it's been. But, McCrimmon found a weakness, and he went after the guy that's got an asset and is willing to retain for most of the contract. And I think Vegas is just doing everything that they can to win. And again, no guarantee to make the playoffs this year. They're still the last wild card spot in the Western Conference. But they've had to deal with a ton of injuries this year. That's probably in part why they haven't, they're not a top 3 team in the Western Conference at the moment. But, I don't really see how you can change that. That's more of a, what do they say? It's above my pay grade. I don't really exactly know how the inner workings of the NHL CBA work to be able to make that happen.
We are talking to Forever Blueshirts writer and on-air talent, Stephen Pappas. Steve, you look at, obviously, the playoffs. It's right around the corner. And the NHL playoffs, you can't even compare any of the playoffs to the NHL playoffs. It's so fun to watch. It's so every single game is so close, and you watch all these teams beat the hell out of each other for 7 games. You look at right now the Western and Eastern Conference. When you look at where the Stanley Cup, everybody's predicting where the Stanley Cup is going and who's going to be playing in the Stanley Cup. I know you're a Ranger guy, but honestly, when you look at where these teams are and the talent and going into the playoffs, who do you have going to the Stanley Cup Finals?
The Western Conference is a lot harder to predict because there's, I think, more talents out there. The teams are more evenly compacted in the Western Conference. The Eastern Conference, I think it's going to come down to Carolina, the Rangers, and the Florida Panthers. If I had to tell you right now, I would say the Florida Panthers out of the Eastern Conference. I think they're just such a complete team, and if they get the same goaltending out of Bobrovsky that they got last year, then that's a incredibly dangerous team. Out of the Western, I'd like to see the Dallas Stars. I think Jake Ottinger has had a iffy year in goal for the Stars. They've had some struggles as of recent, but they've been a very good team. The Colorado Avalanche have loaded up as well. I think I really like what they did at the deadline. They've got some good guys. They got some role players. Another team of the West, you got to say Vegas. I mean, they went all in again. So Vegas is the defending Stanley Cup champions until told otherwise. So they're a team out there that's dangerous. The Winnipeg Jets have fallen off. So it's a chasm of teams out there in the Western Conference. But if I had to give you a prediction at the moment, I would say Florida out of the East. I can't believe I forgot to mention the Oilers. They're getting goaltending at the moment. Yep. They got the best player in the world, probably 2 of the best players in the world out there. So it's hard not to pick against McDavid and them, but until their goaltending is elite, I have to. So I'll say Florida, and I will say the Colorado Avalanche.
By the way, Knobloch has been fantastic for the Edmonton Oilers. He should be up for Coach of the Year for a team that completely looked like they were not going anywhere. And in the second half, they make this move. They bring in the Rangers AHL coach. And a lot of people think that the Rangers should have brought Knobloch in, not Peter Laviolette. But I think Peter Laviolette is one of the best coaches. I've always loved him, so I don't think the Rangers got it wrong. But Knobloch going to Edmonton, I think he's been the Coach of the Year. He's been unbelievable. And I'm going to tell you this right now. Edmonton is dangerous because of the way he coaches and the way he preaches defense and offense to defense. I mean, McDavid's played more defense this year than I've ever seen him play. So that says a lot about this team. And I'm going to tell you this right now. You don't need great goaltending if your defense plays team defense, as you asked the Islanders over the years. They did. They did have a young Sorokin and Sergei. I'm sorry.
They had Semyon Varlamov, and they also had Robin Leonard the one year with him, and
yes,
he was great.
Yes, they've always had good goaltending, but the reason why the Islanders were so dangerous in the playoffs because of their defense. They're not the same defense they were when they had a different coach there. So
no, they didn't have the worst penalty kill in the NHL.
Yeah, so it makes me sick to my stomach. Barry Trotz right now is in with the Predators, building that organization, and that organization is going to be good for many, many years as we have the great Lou Lamoriello that looks like he's about to fall apart every single time he steps on the, he steps out and about. I saw him last year in the offseason at an event, and I was the only one that noticed Lou. He's like 5'0", and he walks in with his suit, and I walk up to him and I said, "What was this? Why did you bring in Pierre Engvall? What was the point of that?" I mean, and then he signs him to a 7-year, $3.5 million contract. What are you, nuts? That guy stinks. He stunk in Toronto and he stinks here. Every single time the Islanders look like they're on the right path, they fall apart. I'm just tired of watching that team. It's horrible when you're a Jets fan. It's horrible when you're obviously an Islander fan. It's horrible when you're a Knicks fan, but the Knicks are actually playing good basketball. So I can't really attack the Knicks right now because I think Leon Rose has something going here with this team and this organization, even though they're down 25-20 right now against Portland. And I'm a Yankee fan. That looks like this team is trying to figure something out. I don't know. So
listen, the two best run teams in New York are James Dolan teams. So if that says something about the state of New York sports right now, I don't know what else does.
Listen,
James Dolan might not be there. He might be leaving soon.
I never
good offer.
I never thought James Dolan was a bad owner. Okay, as long as he keeps away from the teams and lets the GMs run the organization. He's a good owner. He opens up his pockets. He spends the money, and he does what these, the GMs want him to do and the presidents want him to do. So, to me, he's a good owner. So I don't know why everybody attacks him. He opens his mouth too much when he goes to the Michael Kay show and wherever he goes, and he speaks to the press. He says stupid things. Just stay away from the press. Sing your song, sing the blues, play your guitar, and just shut up. If he does that, I think he's one of the better owners in the NBA, or in the NHL. So I think he's a better owner than people think. He just has a big mouth. So anyways, Steve, we love you. Keep up the good work, and we'll talk to you soon, bud.
Appreciate it. Thank you guys for having me.
Absolutely. Stephen Pappas, he's a personality, guys, and he knows our friend. He knows our friend who comes on this show and loves to fight with me. We haven't had him on the show for a while.
Yeah,
you got to get him on.
I'll tell you what. Let's get Stephen on. Let's get Stephen on, and let's get the man on. Let's get him on. Let's get him on.
Yeah, last time I tried to get him on, he said he hasn't been as good with the night hours.
Excuses. That is an excuse because he knows when he comes on this show, he better have it right because I am going to attack everything he says about the New York Rangers. For years, he's been digging in. The Islanders stink. Finally, he's in a good position right now to tell me that the Islanders stink, and he doesn't want to come on the show. So thank you. It's called Terry. We love him. Anyways, Steve, we love you. Keep up the good work.
Thank you very much, guys. You have a good night.
Stephen Pappas. Fantastic. Very, very good. He knows his hockey. He definitely does. All right. We have a couple of stories that I really, really want to get into, and I know Nathan's going to jump in one way or another. But this story, which is, it really brings a lot of craziness to me and my thoughts to it. And I wanted to bring this into the show early. Caitlin Clark became college basketball's all-time leading scorer, surpassing Pistol Pete Maravich during Iowa's Big Ten championship game against Ohio State. Clark is the only player in college basketball history to lead her conference in scoring and assists for 4 consecutive seasons. Clark is the only player in college basketball history to have over 3,700 career points, 1,000 career assists, and 850 career rebounds. This led many people to wonder whether Caitlin Clark could play at the NBA level. And Jay Wright, Magic Johnson, and Kevin Garnett believe she can. Steph Curry praised her even more, saying the comparison of their three-point shooting take away from the greatness of the rest of the game. And as she is getting triple doubles almost every game, Caitlin Clark will likely face off against Trae Young in the three-point contest next year after Sabrina Ionescu battled Steph Curry this year. There is no written rule that says women can't be drafted into the NBA, and 2 were drafted in the NBA history. One was vetoed by the commissioner in 1969, and the other declined a tryout opportunity in 1977. Oh my God! And I am definitely going to be pro women in the NBA. The game has become the WNBA. Okay. You can't put your hands on anybody. You can't even put your finger on anybody before they go to the free throw line. And these women, Caitlin Clark and Sabrina, these guys, these 2 women are 2 of the best shooters in the world. Okay. Steph Curry comes out. We've heard Reggie Miller say that. We've seen Ray Allen come out over the last couple of weeks talking about Caitlin Clark. Women should be allowed in the NBA. It's become a shooting game. We saw what Sabrina did against Steph at the three-point contest, and I think what it stands for is it becomes the sports, and sports is becoming more diverse, and that's something that the NBA could sell. You want to bring the NBA up to higher heights, and the NBA is doing so well right now in merchandise and throughout the world. There's over 250 countries watching the game of basketball. Thank you to Michael Jordan, by the way. As everybody thinks that LeBron James is the greatest of all time, but Caitlin Clark stands for something. And that's something that, the NBA has to look at. You sit here and you try to look at the game and try to transition the game and understand the way the game works. And the NBA is trying to find some other superstar to bring in. And there's nobody that has come into the NBA right now that's taken over for LeBron James. Nobody. As much as Steph Curry stands for something and his jersey sales and what he's done in Golden State, LeBron James is the biggest thing since sliced bread, since Michael Jordan, since Kobe Bryant. When you look at the way the NBA is moving, and I know we're going to get into the next story about their, more defense in the NBA, and that's something that Adam Silver wants to bring back. But if he can't bring it back, if the players union does not accept the new CBA rules that he wants to bring into the game, Caitlin Clark is perfect for the NBA. She's perfect. We're going to have women coaches in the NBA very, very soon, as we see assistant coaches. We see women referees right now in the NBA. It absolutely could bring so much more money to the game of basketball.
Yeah, if you're a shooter already, that's going to help alleviate itself as it is. Offense is still going to sell. Even though Adam Silver wants to push these rules, it's not going to be like 90s basketball all over again. It's going to be still a balance of offense and defense. And you can shoot. You could be able to get anywhere. A lot of big men are like being phased out of the NBA for that reason. Now, I'm not saying every women's college basketball or WNBA player would succeed like that, but if you could shoot like that and ball handle like Clark does, yeah, it's definitely possible.
I think when you look at the way the NBA works and it's become a shooting game, and everybody says, well, how could a woman play a man? What do you mean, how could a woman play a man? You can't put your hands on anybody in the game of basketball anymore. And it doesn't matter how much bigger these men are to these women, because we've seen pretty big women in the WNBA, and these girls can still shoot over them. To me, shooting is a gift. It's a talent. And it's something that you can't just, you go out there and go ahead, shoot the ball. Caitlin, the way Caitlin Clark has really transitioned the game and really the women's game, and even Sabrina, what she's done in the women's game, it could translate into the NBA. The NBA has become, like I said, a more 3-point savvy game. Everybody's shooting threes. I mean, the average 3-point shots being hoisted up in the NBA is, I think, 32, 31. So why couldn't Caitlin Clark come into the NBA and play off the bench? There are guys right now on the NBA bench that are the 13th and 12th guy making $5 million a year, and they never step on the court. Caitlin Clark's better than them. So why shouldn't she play in the NBA? I don't care if the NBA is a man's sport. To me, it's all about money. And all these women are going overseas to try to make it more money in Spain, in Portugal, and in England, wherever they're playing, Japan. And why should they do that when they should be in the NBA showing their talent, showing what they can do with a basketball?
Yeah, and Caitlin Clark was a moneymaker this final season because she stayed one more year, because Fish was bringing up the graphic too. Sometimes the WNBA pay discrepancy has been really bad, that all these guys, all these women that have these extra eligibility in women's college basketball because of the COVID year are taking those extra years. The last, I would say, 10 games were like sellout crowds no matter where they went. Even if it was a road game, just go see her play. Like, what team that's drafting low that's been so dysfunctional for a while wouldn't just even want to take that chance for revenue, even if it doesn't work out? Like, what's the worst that could happen for the Wizards that have been dysfunctional for a while, or the Pistons that have been dysfunctional for a while? Like, what's the worst that could happen? If it doesn't work out, you try a progressive experiment. Nobody's going to look at you badly for doing that kind of thing for somebody like Clark. Like, you mentioned Ionescu too. Like, Ionescu's college career kind of got dwindled because it was the COVID year, but she was really good that last season too for Oregon. So
you speak about teams that could be looking for shooters. I mean, DiVincenzo has been fantastic this year. The Knicks have had problems shooting threes. The Knicks have 3 first-round draft picks this year. Why wouldn't the Knicks go after Caitlin Clark? Sure. It would put fannies in the seats in Madison Square Garden, the world's most famous arena. Could you imagine Caitlin Clark's jersey being sold as a New York Knick? I mean, seriously, it would be huge. I mean, they're selling out now, and they've been selling out for 20 years, and they've been a terrible organization. Leon Rose would definitely jump on this. This is great for basketball. This is great for women that want to work and try to be Caitlin Clark or Sabrina. So I think this is great for the NBA. It's great for the WNBA. It really transitions the league. I don't think we'll ever see a woman play in the NFL because it's more dangerous. But we've seen women try to play in the NHL. We've seen women goaltending. So maybe that could happen in the future, but that's still kind of dangerous because these guys are so big and so strong now, and it's so dangerous. But something like the NBA, it's not an aggressive sport. It really isn't. And I think the way the game has transitioned, it's become more fitting to bring women in and play basketball.
NBA also has the most progressive owners too, so I think there's a much better chance of that than any other sport as well. Now, I do think it could happen down the road in the NHL because there's a lot of more speed and skill concepts in the game. And again, the biggest women players and obviously the smaller men players are going to be similar sizes anyway. So I still think it'd be the NHL, but definitely the NBA, where ball handling, passing, and 3-point shooting are going to be so key. And all these top guards, I'm not saying every top WNBA or women's player could play at maybe at the power forward position or small forward. That might be difficult, but in the backcourt to play make like that is something that's definitely possible.
There are small point guards in this league. Okay.
Of course.
Rozier is a small point guard. Yep. You're going to tell me that Caitlin Clark isn't better than Terry Rozier? I mean, come on, guys. Caitlin Clark is breaking records. She is as good a shooter as Steph Curry. Now, the NBA and the WNBA basketball is a little different. And the WNBA, the 3-point line's a little bit more closer than the NBA. But guess what? Sabrina showed that she can shoot the 3. Yep. She could shoot the 3. If she can shoot the NBA 3 and she can shoot the men's basketball, but she, obviously against Steph Curry, she was shooting a women's basketball with an NBA 3. Right. But if Caitlin can do it, and I'm sure she can, why shouldn't she be able to play in the NBA? Why shouldn't she be able to make the money that she could make? She could be making 80 million, 75 million. And why wouldn't an NBA team sit there and say, hey, you know what? If we bring in Caitlin Clark, she's deadly at the 3-point line. She could be a Steve Novak or somebody like that, or Jeff Hornacek, or one of those guys that you can use as a weapon in the open court, especially when it becomes a half court game in the NBA playoffs.
And she could ball handle too. She just has to just catch and shoot. She could dribble really well, pass really well. Her vision on the court is very good.
She played against men when she was in high school and dominated. Yep. Why couldn't she do that in the NBA? I know the NBA is a little bit more athletic and they jump higher. She don't need to jam. There's so many guys.
No.
There's so many guys in the NBA that don't slam the ball. I mean, how many times do you see Jalen Brunson jam the ball? How many times? Right. I think you've seen it twice this year. Yeah, we don't need to see Caitlin Clark jam the ball and be as athletic as some of these NBA players. All we need to see is she can shoot the ball and do the things she's doing right now in college basketball. And if Steph Curry could do it, why can't she?
Mm-hmm. Keith says she's not as good of a shooter as Curry. Come on now.
I didn't say she's as good as Curry.
Again, that doesn't mean it's not worth it.
Hold on 1 second. Hold on 1 second. Nobody said she's as good as Curry. But Ionescu, and I don't know if anybody watched Sabrina Ionescu, she hit 24 3-point shots in the All-Star 3-point competition against Steph Curry. She didn't beat Steph Curry. She scored 24. She hit 24. She had 24 points with the 3 points. How many NBA players hit at 24? There were like 3 or 4 guys that couldn't even get close to 24. So I'm just saying, Caitlin Clark's a better shooter than Sabrina. So nobody's saying she's better than Steph Curry. All I'm saying is she can shoot in the NBA. And if she could shoot in the NBA, she could come off on any bench right now as the 10th guy or the 8th guy or the 7th guy or maybe even the 6th man and be as dangerous and potent as we've seen DiVincenzo for the New York Knicks.
Yeah, Fish also gave us a comment too. The defense would be an issue. We're not doubting that at 6 foot. And she's not an amazing raw defender. But
she's 6 foot. There are point guards in the NBA that are like 5'10", 5'11". Why can't she play?
It's worth a good chance. For any team that's
worth a good chance. I draft her in the first round. Right now, when you look at the NBA, the draft this year, there might be 5 guys that you can look at that could change a team. 5 guys. Everybody else, it's a hit or miss. Ask the Knicks. Okay? How many hit and misses they had in the top 10 and they failed? I don't know. Ntilikina, who stinks. He's averaging 1 point a game right now. Who's he on? The Charlotte Hornets right now?
Oh, yeah. Speaking of a team that stinks. Yeah.
I mean, I'm just speaking right now. I mean, Caitlin Clark's better than Ntilikina. She's better than a lot of guards in the NBA. She can ball handle and she can shoot. And if she comes off, she comes off the pick and roll. Why couldn't she shoot open 3-pointers?
Yeah.
I mean,
what's the harm for a team like the Hornets that have been so bad for so long to try that kind of thing?
I think it's a great move.
I do too.
Yeah. NBA is too physical and it's very physical. The NBA, again, the NBA is different than it was in the 90s. It's different. You can't put your hands on them. If you put your finger on LeBron James, what's going to happen? He's going to the free throw line. This girl, what is she, a 94% free throw shooter? I mean, she doesn't miss. Even if she goes to the line 14 times, that's 14 points that you don't have. You're getting points from her. So I'm going to take my chance with a girl like Caitlin Clark. And if Kevin Garnett says it, Jay Wright, Magic Johnson say that she could do it, I believe she can do it too. So
Keith, there's also the progression of the game too could benefit that kind of thing. And we're not saying that she's necessarily going to transform and like be Steph Curry right now, but
I don't think she will be Steph Curry. But if she's giving you 20 points a game or 18 points a game, why wouldn't you take her off your bench? And she should be making the money. These WNBA players, I think they make $150,000, $100,000.
Yeah, it's really badly run.
They could be making, she could be making millions. And her jersey sales for all the women, all the young kids that want to be like her, she'd probably have the biggest jersey sale in all of the NBA because of who she is.
Yeah,
100%. The NBA wants to make money. This is great for the NBA if you bring in a Caitlin Clark. Fantastic. A beautiful woman playing in the NBA and dominating at Madison Square Garden or LA at the Staples Center or in Minnesota, wherever, where you need to bring stars. And she is a star. That's what sells. You want to bring in stars.
She's a star in farm country right now. Imagine if she's in a bigger city.
I think it's great. I think it'll be great for the NBA. I'm just speaking what I believe. Now, that doesn't mean it's going to happen, but I do believe Adam Silver has to look at it. I do believe that the NBA and NBA teams should look at it as a great endorsement to bring women into the NBA. They're doing it with coaches. They're doing it with referees. Why shouldn't they do that with players? NBA.com's Sean Powell reports that Adam Silver and the NBA competition committee are looking to add rules to make the league more balanced for offense and defense. Some rules that they were thinking of changing were to penalize players harder for flopping, initiating contact to draw fouls, getting rid of defensive 3-second rule, and bringing back some level of hand checking, which I would love. I would love to see that with the NBA again. Silver did mention that he didn't want these defensive rules to make it like the 90s basketball, which he called gross to watch, and like basketball, dead ball era. Chauncey Billups mentioned that the 2005 NBA Finals between his Pistons and the Spurs being very low scoring also changed the game because of the ratings were down. This season, the NBA's teams are averaging 115.4 points per game, the highest since 1969. Turnovers are also at an all-time low since 1974 at just 13.8 per game. This season has also set records for the highest free throw percentage at 78% and offensive efficiency, 115 points per 100 possessions. So you look at the NBA right now and the transition of the NBA, and I think that the NBA should look at this. I really do. Now, I don't think they should bring back the old NBA where these guys are being put into the seats and killing players and elbowing players and throwing punches and throwing knees, the Jordan rules. I don't believe that should happen. But I'm going to tell you this right now. The NBA has become boring. It's become boring. You put your hands on somebody. Steph Curry shoots up a three. You tap his elbow. He's going to the free throw line and shooting 3 points. It's a guaranteed 3 points. I think the NBA should be open for handshakes. I think the NBA would make the NBA more fun to watch. It would bring more equality to the NBA and the game. I think the NBA right now has become more, less fun to watch. And you look at hockey right now. Hockey, I mean, they're throwing, you bring all these goons back. Now the NBA, you're watching the NHL bring, the Rangers bring in a goon. Yeah, the Lightnings have a new goon. Colorado Avalanche have a new goon. They're trying to bring back fighting. And that's something that a lot of people, we've had May on the show. We've had people, ex-fighters, bad, what do they call them? Bad boys of hockey, the goons of hockey. We've had these guys on the show, and they would say the NHL hasn't been the same since they've taken out the goons. Now the NHL is trying to bring it back, and the NHL is trying to push that. You look at the NBA right now, they should bring back somewhat of the 90s NBA. Now, does it work for Caitlin Clark? Probably not. But I'm not necessarily telling you to bring back all that aggressiveness, but I want to see it more. I think it's more exciting to watch. I think it brings the game a little bit more fun to watch. And by the way, it's not going to have LeBron James and James Harden and Russell Westbrook going out there and saying, you know what, they put up a layup and they get smacked in the ass, and they're saying that they should be going up and going to the free throw line and getting 3 points. So I think the game has become more of a baby game. It's not fun to watch. It's boring. And that's why I don't watch the regular season. I only watch the playoffs usually. And I'm a Knicks fan. I watch 15 games a season because I'm tired of watching these baby games. And that's what it is. I don't care what anybody says. Watching the NBA, it's not the same. And I don't care what anybody says with Michael Jordan, LeBron James. If LeBron James played in the 90s, the way the 90s game was played, and so would Steph Curry. And I showed this to this young kid who's 22 years old. And the way, Ron Harper, I don't know if everybody remembers Ron Harper. He was a great defender. He was an all-world defender. He was on the NBA defensive team a couple of times. And he also played for those Chicago Bulls as well. Everybody talks about Scottie Pippen and Dennis Rodman and Michael Jordan. People forget how good Ron Harper was. Ron Harper, and I've seen a documentary, Ron Harper used to say that when he would play against the best guard on any other team, he would drive his hand into their sternum when they're ready to shoot. And that would push them back and also make them lose the rotation, the technique when they're shooting the ball. And he did that all the time. And that hurt these players like Steph Curry. If you hit Steph Curry in the sternum, he's what, 160, 170 pounds soaking wet. Ron Harper, he's not the same shooter. He's not the same player he once was. And that's a fact. So that's my opinion. I mean, Speedy, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I've had a lot of different guests that have come on this show and say that the 80s were the best era for basketball because it was the best balance of everything. I think the Grizzlies guy Hasseltine mentioned that. I know the Cavs Alcorn, he mentioned that. And teams are just chucking threes now because of what the data says to do. And there's a lot of good 3-point shooters. Now, I'm not saying to not develop your team that way because there are a lot of good forwards and even fours now that could shoot threes really well. But at the same time, I could see where Adam Silver and this competition committee want to make it more balanced, to make it many different ways to build a team. Get these other guys that have different skill sets more relevance in the game rather than these defensive specialists getting traded away or signing 1-year deals. These big men signing 1-year veteran minimum type contracts. I can understand that to an extent. And from the strategy standpoint, I could see it where they can make the game a little more indifferent, where it's more well-rounded and not relying on free throws, because we talked about it with like the baseball pace of play too. Like all these times that you have more strikeouts, it's going to add up on pace of play too and make it less boring. Can't you say the same thing about free throws too? It's the same kind of thing. It's a kind of a stoppage of play. There's substitutions, and I don't think the NBA is a pace of play problem, but these guys trying to like whine for fouls going to the line makes no sense.
We've been crying about bringing back the bad boys of Detroit Pistons. I've been crying about those bad boys of the New York Knicks with Charles Oakley and Anthony Mason and those type of teams. Patrick Ewing was no baby either. He would make sure he was very aggressive too. He wasn't the best defensive player, but he wasn't a bad defensive player. Those Knick teams, those Pat Riley teams were fun to watch against those Chicago Bulls, those Reggie Miller Indiana games. I love those games. That's something that we miss. It's become a love fest. And that's the problem right now with the NBA. Everybody's butt buddy with everybody else. I want to see these teams hate each other. I want to see these teams go out there and try to pulverize each other. And I know it's not going to bring it back. And as you heard, Adam Silver says he doesn't want that. It's so gross. But I think that the NBA needs to bring something back with aggressiveness, and they need more defense. If you bring that hand checking back, what does it do for basketball? Well, instead of them scoring 115 points a game, they're probably scoring 99, 98 points a game, and it makes the game more interesting. That's what you want to see. That's what makes the sport so much fun to watch. And I want to see that aggressiveness again. That's the problem right now in professional sports. Now they're trying to make it pee-wee football. I mean, when we watch the NFL right now, and I understand the CTE situation, and I understand what Roger Goodell is doing and what the owners are trying to do. They're trying to save these players. They're trying to make sure that these players are safe. Okay, give them a lifetime of benefits. You have them. Why can't the players have them? If you are willing to watch these guys beat the hell out of their bodies, and they're still beating the hell out of their bodies, and you're putting turf on the ground instead. I mean, I'm sorry, you're putting turf on the ground instead of grass, and it's hurting these guys' ankles, their knees, and ruining their careers. That when they come off the field, they're limping, they have canes, they're using walkers, they're rolling themselves down with wheelchairs. Why aren't you protecting the players? Now, all of a sudden, the NBA and Adam Silver says, you know what, I want to make the game more interesting. I want to make it more aggressive. I want to bring back defense. Okay, do it the right way. Bring that aggressiveness back, because you know what it does? It opens people's eyes on how the game has changed, and it shows you why the guys like Michael Jordan, Karl Malone, Larry Bird, Magic Johnson, and some of the greatest basketball players of all time should be thought of to be still the greatest of all time, and not bringing LeBron James baby back ribs or any of these guys, Steph Curry and Chris Paul and all these guys complaining and crying about the way the game should be played now. I think it's really completely ridiculous, and I think it needs to change.
Yeah, we also mentioned this, I believe, with Chris Childs when we had him on the show, that a lot of these players are now being taught defense the wrong way because of it, and they've had to adjust like everything they've learned growing up and how to guard the perimeter, how to guard across the paint with the 3-second rule. They're used to the defensive 3-second rule, and I agree. I think that's a good start to maybe getting rid of that, so they don't have to guard inside, especially with all these guards that are now crafty in terms of making layups as well. Even some of the smaller guards that could do that, like allow a guy to stand in the paint for a while. It should be fine. Like offensively, it's a little different. Defensively, it's worth a technical foul, which is I always thought a bit extreme. The hand checking will probably be something that comes more progressively. I think they're not going to try to make it like super aggressive where they're going to be swinging at guys, but at least allow us to have some kind of contact, initiate contact, and not have it be like where the offensive player is the only one doing that and getting rewarded for it, and the defensive player is getting rewarded for nothing. It's kind of like the same thing with the NFL, the helmet to helmet rule. Like defensive players get it initiated a lot on them so much more often. And I'm not advocating for dirty hits, but offensive players are only starting to get penalized for it 2 years ago, not when the defensive players are starting to do it like 10.
At a discussion with the U.S. Senators at Capitol Hill Tuesday, Nick Saban said the landscape of college athletics was a big factor in his decision of retirement. Saban said all the things that I believe in all of these years, 50 years of coaching, no longer exist in college athletics. He also said it was always about developing players. It was always about helping people be more successful in their lives. That's the reason that I always like college athletics more than the NFL. Saban said he is not against the NIL deals, but is against the idea of having college football being about which university spends the most money. He said that the NCAA has no competitive balance plan to manage these NIL deals. Last season, Alabama had the 5th most money being made in NIL deals, about $52,000. All right. And I really wanted to get into this last because I have a lot of respect for Nick Saban. I have a lot of respect for him. Greatest college coach as far as football is concerned of all time. When you want to compare him to somebody, you can compare him to Bill Belichick. I think he has 5 national championships right now. Nick Saban does. And Bill Belichick has 6 championships with the New England Patriots. You look at all the greats, Coach K, all these guys, and what they did for the game of their sports. It changed. It definitely changed it for the better. The problem right now is these coaches don't like the landscape right now. They don't like that these players are making money, and these players could be millionaires before they step on an NFL football field. But guess what? Why are you making more money than them? You're selling them. You're selling their names. You're putting their names on the jerseys. You're going after them, and you're making money by bringing these players in and recruiting these players. Why shouldn't they be bringing in the cash? That's the problem right now in college football and college sports. I've been saying this all the time. I've been saying this for over 7 years before the NIL deal came out. These college players should be making money. Now, it has to be regulated. It definitely needs to be regulated. $52,000? Are you kidding me? Let me ask you a question, Nick. How much money did you make a year with Alabama? 9, 10, $11 million? Jim Harbaugh was getting offered, what, $13 million to stay with Michigan?
Yep.
How is that fair? How is that fair? You're selling your players. That's what you're doing. You're recruiting them. You're recruiting the best players in the world all over the country, and you're selling them. And they're the ones that are putting you on the pedestal. They're putting you and opening opportunities for you to succeed in the future in the NFL or making more money for another college team. Why shouldn't they be getting the pot?
Right. And there is a level of balance that's going to have to come. And I think Saban is right about that. You don't want to see the most extreme measure where a team is going to start relying on it, where it's going to be their entire recruiting process is going to be based on NIL deals. But at the same time, teams are going to have to evolve to that in order to get transfers. Now, I'm not saying to go to the extreme measure like you saw Deion Sanders do with Colorado, where he had 67 new players and
he won 4 games.
Right. He won 4 games and threw, I think,
Yippee.
50 of them away. Like, I'm not saying to go to that extreme measure. Maybe that's what Nick Saban is saying. They should have some kind of reliance on that too in terms of the program reputation. But at the same time, coaches still have to evolve to that level. We were talking about it last season with all the coaches that were taking shots at the transfer portal with Dabo Sweeney, with Lane Kiffin.
Dabo Sweeney.
Now,
another one that needs to shut his mouth.
Penn State's coach Franklin was saying that kind of thing too. Now, Ole Miss has been a good program with Lane Kiffin there. I'm not saying it's not, but Clemson has fallen apart since Dabo's made those comments. They were horrible in the COVID year, and they were horrible the year that Lawrence got hurt. And Penn State's been kind of stuck in that same position. They're good, but they're not getting there to that next level. Maybe if you did that kind of thing and adapt to getting more transfers, adapt to getting more money there, you can make that kind of thing. We're just talking about it with Caitlin Clark with Iowa. Like, these schools that are in smaller,
$3 million, I think, this year.
And the revenue that even just the games we're getting is going to be a lot, no matter where you are, if you have that kind of appeal with the money. And that kind of thing worked in Iowa. Imagine if you're an SEC school that already has a good reputation, or all these Pac-12 schools now going to the Big Ten. It's going to get more that way too, and they should embrace it to some extent. Now, again, don't to go to the most extreme level. Nick Saban, I think, is being a little bit hypocritical because he had to rely on it in his last couple of years, the transfer portal, a lot. But at the same time, yeah, he's right in that sense to regulate it. But at the same time, there's no need to downgrade it that much and saying it's ruined college football.
Here's the thing. And again, going back to this, and it's all about making money. And these are the reasons why these coaches are complaining about it, because they don't think it's fair. And why is it fair that the coaches are making the money? Why is it fair that is going on right now in the NCAA? And here's another thing. When we see all these, there are players that never make that kind of money or haven't made that kind of money in the NFL. And they have a chance to be multimillionaires. They might make $10 or $11 million in the 3 years that they're in college football and only make $2 or $3 million in the NFL because of injury, or maybe because they're a running back and teams usually give up on them after 2 or 3 years. So why wouldn't this be fair? This really narrows the playing. And I think that I think it should be open like that. And I do believe it should be regulated, because we don't know what Manning is getting. Archie Manning went to Texas. Why do you think he went to Texas? Because under the table, they probably given him $5 or $6 million. And now he's leaving Texas and he's going somewhere else. So you look at the way college football is played. You look at the way and how much money these college football teams are making. And I understand they're giving them college educations. How long do these guys stay? How many of them actually graduate from college?
Right, it's 3 years.
Let's look at the numbers.
It's 3 years.
Let's look at the numbers. How many guys actually go back? Sauce Gardner did, but how many guys actually go back to college after they leave?
Right.
They're helping their families. Some of these guys come from the gutter. They come from the mean streets of Florida, mean streets of Miami, mean streets of Texas, mean streets of New York, New Jersey, wherever. They have nothing. LA. They don't have anything. Their families have nothing. Mm-hmm. And now they need to go out there and try to earn as much money as they possibly can.
And again, especially since a lot of them are not going to succeed in the NFL anyway, it's still worth trying to get that revenue there too, where the schools, it's going to be the chance of alleviating a program that much in itself, where you're getting a 5-star recruit. We were talking about it on Let's Parlay. Derek was mentioning how Colorado was paying a lot of these other guys that are going to be NBA draft prospects to make their team relevant for basketball. That approach is going to be taken in football too, to some extent. Now, football obviously has more players you have to recruit because there's way more players on a team. And college football rosters even double the size of NFL rosters. Imagine that. But even so, schools are going to want to take that chance to get that kind of spark going into their program. And I think they're going to embrace it to some extent. Now, you mentioned Texas. Texas might have done it to the most extreme measures so far in what we've seen in the early stages of NIL. And maybe that's what something that Nick Saban is concerned about, because while Texas wasn't a completely irrelevant program, they weren't the powerhouse they used to be. But at the same time, you're also going to have crash and burn programs and spend too much money and then go nowhere, like your boy Jimbo Fisher at Texas A&M that had a lot of money and
He's
now
not
he's
my
fired.
boy. Why are you saying he's my boy? I couldn't
Sarcasm.
stand Jimbo
Sarcasm.
Fisher. He left my Seminoles.
I know.
I couldn't stand him at Texas A&M. I was so happy what happened to him. I'm happy he's alive. I don't wish anybody.
Well, of course, yeah.
But I knew he was going to fail in Texas A&M, and again he did. But I also look at it this way. There are a lot of college players that might never want to play in the NFL because of the CTE situation. Maybe their bodies, maybe they want to be lawyers, maybe they want to be doctors. So, and they're great players, and they say, you know what? I can make $11 million. I can make $7 million before I even step off, out of college. And I can take that money and invest it into my practice. I can invest it into my college education, my extended college education, help my family out, help my sisters out, help my mom and my dad out. Something, this is why I played sports. Why is that not fair? I mean, I understand Nick Saban and what he's saying, and I understand him coming out and saying that he's not against NIL deals, but it sounds like he's crying about it. He's going out there in Capitol Hill and he says that he hates the landscape of college athletics. You're pretty much saying the reason why you left is you don't like the fact that these players are making money. Yeah. And you're thinking that a college education is enough. It's not, because half of these guys, actually probably 75% of these guys, never graduate from college. It is terrible. And then why is Dabo Swinney and Nick Saban, all these coaches, you didn't see Jim Harbaugh crying about it. You don't see him crying about it. He's laughing to the bank. $12 million a year. And now he's over there with the Chargers. And you know what he's going to do? Because he knows the college world and he knows these college players, he's going to draft them. And he's going to bring them in. He's going to get them paid. That's what he's going to do. And why do you think Michigan won the national championship? Because they've been doing it for years, even when it was illegal. It's been going on forever. And now that it's become legal, everybody's complaining about it. You're going to tell me Nick Saban didn't pay players to come there? You're going to tell me that Coach K didn't pay players to go to play for him at Duke? Come on, guys. It's been going on for years. Just because they didn't get caught doesn't mean it didn't happen.
Yeah, there's no need to go to a government measure, too, if you're Nick Saban. I understand you want to be a voice of college football, but the government has much more issues to worry about. Unless there's some kind of financial scandal going on in a school, that's a whole different story. But you don't need to take it to a bunch of senators.
And here's another thing, and I'm going to say this because I'm going to be very, very nice about this. Why are these coaches worried about that? Why don't you worry about some of these players that are throwing games? How about that?
Yeah.
How about that? Why aren't they freaking complaining about that? As a matter of fact, ladies and gentlemen, former USC and Vanderbilt quarterback Mo Hasan said that the Italian mob was paying him to rig college football games. The payoffs were reportedly about $300,000 per game, first happening in 2018. He mentioned he was first approached by members of the mob in country singers Jason Aldean's Nashville bar while playing for Vanderbilt in 2018. He added that he believes that the SEC football is rigged. Oh, I'm not surprised. And there were many Alabama players that were approached by the mob as well. Greg McElroy questioned how he could fix games, barely playing for what has been an awful Vanderbilt football team. SEC football teams have won 4 out of the 6 national championships in that span. Okay. This has been going on for years. This has been going on forever. The only reason why these guys are not being caught, because I think the authorities are involved with this as well. Okay. And I'm just saying, you see, there's cops, there's FBI agents, there's so many people betting on sports. Sports has been a phenomenon. It's a multi-billion-dollar industry, as you're seeing all these states actually allowing betting now. New York, everybody would have argued that New York, it would have taken them forever to allow betting. Nope, it opened up. Why? Because I don't know, the public is bringing in so much money through taxes for it. They're taxing it. Why is marijuana being brought to New York State and being legalized in New York State as fast as it is? Because they can tax you on it. And that's what it is. It's a political thing. And now, all of a sudden, now that this comes out, or it's been coming out, how many times have we heard these stories come out that the mafia was paying off players to rig games? Now, all of a sudden that this comes out, everybody's questioning the game and how it's been rigged. This has not been something blinded by anybody. This has been going on forever. And the mafia has been doing it. Other people have been doing it. It's all about, this is a multi-billion-dollar industry. Everybody's trying to make money. The players are trying to make money. The coaches are trying to make money. The referees are trying to make money. The owners, and I'm sorry. The NCAA directors are trying to make money. Everybody is making money off of this. You think it's just a hidden trade that this has been going on? This has been going on forever.
And while there weren't other names mentioned directly by Hasan, he even mentioned, there's these guys at other schools that are doing it clearly too. So it's kind of one of those things that definitely is going to be impacted by the lack of money that's coming into that. And yeah,
it's been going on in the NBA. It's been going on in the NHL. Lower my mic. It's been going on all over professional sports.
Yeah, and
lower my mic.
Yeah, and also you look at the case of Vanderbilt can throw games by losing games too, Greg McElroy. I mean, yes, they've been a bad program, but it's still been unbadly bad. Like, there's other bad SEC schools that are baseball schools like Vanderbilt is, but never to the extent where they barely make a bowl game. I think they made a bowl game one time in the last 6 years. I mean, Texas A&M, we were talking about how bad they were. They still made bowl games. Like, Vanderbilt has been so putrid in football for a while that this quarterback, Hasan, can now make money off of that. And he was also at USC before that too, another big program, but a program that was struggling in college football for a while. Who said he wasn't trying to throw games and manipulate other guys to throw games too? Who knows who these accomplices are? This is organized crime we're talking about.
It's been going on forever. The organized crime has been involved with this forever. Mm-hmm. I mean, I don't know if anybody's seen the movies. Has anybody seen Goodfellas?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, Goodfellas, and the truth, you know how they really got caught? You know, it wasn't drugs. That's not how they got caught. They got caught on betting on basketball games. Yep. College basketball games. As a matter of fact, I think it was, it was a Boston team. Was it Providence? I think it was Providence that they were betting on games. Okay. I watched the 30 for 30. So that whole story on how they got caught and that whole thing with the whole Goodfellas and everything, that happened because of betting on sports. Mm-hmm. So this isn't new. This has been going on forever. And again, I do believe sports are rigged. I do believe the Super Bowl is rigged. I've been saying it forever. And now all of a sudden you have players coming out and saying it. And now some of the, I'm not going to mention any owners, but there are some executives believe that some of the games are rigged. Mm-hmm. So if you believe that to be true, what's to say that this hasn't been going on since the 60s or the 50s or even the 40s?
And there's so many schools you cover it up with too. So like, college sports in general.
It's become a business.
Right.
It's all about, Keith, you're right. It's all about the money. Mm-hmm. It's all about the money.
And every athlete is going to take advantage of that when they're not getting the NIL deals or whatever that they want. They could resort to that too. And I was discussing it last week on the Weekend Crunch. There's 350 something colleges out there too that have all these different sports teams. There's so many opportunities. It's a country of immigrants, so there's always going to be organized crime in different cities as well. So it's definitely possible that there's a lot more names that haven't come out yet, and this is definitely going to be investigated a lot further.
I think, and also, and I'm sitting here today, and I could go back and forth with this, and I can argue so many points, not just with college football, but it's been going on in college basketball. I'm sure it's been going on in other sports. It was going on with lacrosse. I heard college lacrosse, they were betting, and players were betting on those games. Sure. And Pete Rose is not in the Hall of Fame because he was betting on baseball, which I think is pathetic. He wasn't betting against his team. He was betting on his team to win. Right. And I understand there's a rule and you have to follow rules. And that's why he's not in the MLB Hall of Fame. And he will be when he's dead. But to me, when you look at the games and you look at the sport and the amount of millions and billions of dollars that could be made, look at Amazon. Okay. This guy Bezos built Amazon in his house. He built it in his house. He's the richest man in the world. Okay. How did he do that? He used a custom sales tactic. And what did he do? He had all these businesses work with him and sell their products on his product and make a percentage off that product on his platform. What do you think sports is? How do you think that college sports is bringing the money for those schools? Okay. It's not the people paying for the schools. And yes, they're paying loads and loads of money. But how do you think they're paying for the gymnasiums, the jerseys, and some of the all the different things, the libraries that they're building, and all these political people that are involved with these organizations that are coming from those schools? How do you think they're bringing in the money? They're bringing in the money because of the players, because of the sports. So why wouldn't they be buying and bidding on it? It's been going on forever.
Yeah, who knows where that source of the money came from, between politics, between scandals of organized crime. There's all different things that it could come from.
It's everything happens for a reason. And I'm not surprised that Hasan came out with this, because obviously he's trying to protect himself, and the authorities are probably saying, open your mouth or you're going to jail. But really, it's legal now. I mean, you can bet on sports, and he's no longer playing college sports. So even if they could prove that he was betting on sports at the time, what are you going to do to him? This is years ago. This happened 4 or 5 years ago. You can't do anything about it.
2018 was the first year. Honestly, at this point, if the mafia finds out, he might be better off in jail.
Might as well write a book. I mean, might as well. Maybe that's what he's trying to do. Maybe he's trying to disappear. So, or make some money off of that. I don't know what it is. And the mafia is done, man. I just think there is, obviously there is an Italian mafia, there is a Russian mafia, there is a Jewish mafia. There are mafias out there, but they're not as vicious. You can't get away with the things they were getting away with when you had Gotti on the streets. This is it's different now. It's a different world now. And again, there's a lot of money. There is a lot of money out there to be made. And obviously New York wants a piece of it, as they're doing it with marijuana, as they're doing it with sports betting, as everybody is doing, and they're getting their hands wet and involved with this. This is not something that I am surprised about. But again, this is what the game has turned into. It's become a business. Basketball, a business. Football, a business. Hockey, a business. All of them, a business. NASCAR, a business. It's all about what endorsements you're going to bring in for those organizations, what you're going to bring in sales, jersey sales, hot dog sales, sausage sales for Speedy. I mean, Speedy loves the sausage sales, right, Speedy?
Yeah, I answered that earlier in the show.
Yeah, the thick ones, right?
I answered that earlier in the show.
The chocolate ones, right?
No, I would never have it with chocolate.
You wouldn't have chocolate?
No, I'm not mixing chocolate and sausage.
I think chocolate
on the same thing.
I mean, you dip it in chocolate.
No.
I mean,
you can do that if you want.
You like corn dogs?
Yes.
All right.
That's not chocolate.
So why don't you dip it?
That's not chocolate.
It's different. I mean, but
yes, I know it's different.
The corn dog is just like dipping a sauce.
No, it's not.
How? If you've never tried it, why are you knocking it?
Because it's chocolate. It's a sweet flavor.
It's a sweet flavor, and you like it sweet, right?
Not together.
But you never tried it, so you can't knock it. You try it.
I'm not optimistic.
So what we'll?
I'm not optimistic.
What we'll take is that big, chocolate sausage. That's what we'll do, and we'll dip it in and make sure that it's nice and sweet. It melts, and melts in your mouth, not in your hands.
Okay, that makes no difference on the taste.
How do you know? Have you ever tried it?
No, but I don't have any.
You can't knock it if you don't try it. Let's do it. Let's try it.
I'm gonna put together some random dare.
It's not a dare. It's not a dare. I will get some chocolate. I'll melt some chocolate on the beautiful sausage. What type of sausage do you like, by the way?
You know this.
No. I mean, what?
You know this.
No, I don't know. What do you like? Boar's
Selective
head?
amnesia's
You like boar's
kicking
head?
in.
What is it?
Selective amnesia's kicking in.
Yeah, it is.
I could tell. I know your act.
All right. It's not an act. I'm asking you.
I know your act.
This is not an act. I'm asking you what type of sausage you
You
like.
know very well.
I do not know what sausage you
Spicy.
like. No, I know that, but what brand?
I don't know.
You don't have a brand?
No, I don't cook them myself.
I mean, you
think I cook them myself?
I mean, you like the beef, right? You like it nice and beefy, right?
Okay.
You like it nice and thick and
all right.
And tight.
I mean, I know brands.
You like it tight, right?
I have no idea what that means.
The meat,
I never heard that term
No,
ever.
you like
for meat? No, I never heard.
You like the beefy sausage?
Yeah, I know beefy. You said tight. I have no idea what that means for
tight.
meat.
I mean, the sausage has got to be tight, and
I don't know.
The sausage. I mean, it's got to be tight.
I don't know.
And how fast do you think you can eat a sausage?
It depends on how hungry I am.
All right, so
That's irrelevant.
that's the fastest you've ever eaten a big
I don't know.
sausage.
I don't time myself because I don't care.
I always eat. Listen, I eat my food fast, man. Have you ever seen me eat a hamburger? You have.
I have.
I
yeah.
scarf it down, right?
Yeah.
All right, so maybe you can scarf it.
Maybe I can. I don't know, and I don't care.
I'll cut it up in halves.
Okay, what does that do?
It's quicker. You don't have to guzzle it.
It's the same amount.
Wait, hold on one second. You would rather it a full than cutting it into pieces?
I don't know.
So you would rather it full?
I don't know.
You like it nice, thick, and full?
I don't know.
I'm just asking you.
I care about taste.
You care about taste?
Yes.
All right. So
I don't care about how fast or slow I eat it.
I do.
All right. Good for you.
You got to chew on it, right?
Thank you.
All right. I mean,
4-year-old knows that.
If there was a sausage cooked very, very well in, a container of apples, which one would you go after, the sausage or the apples?
Probably the sausage.
I figured you would go for the sausage. I mean, how about you? How about you, Tommy? You like sausage?
I do like sausage.
You got to talk into the mic, Tommy.
I do like sausages.
Okay, that's good. What's your favorite sausage?
Italian sausage.
Italian sausages. Long, thick, cut in half.
Well, like Speedy says, the thick ones, they're more filling. So
Yeah, so you would eat it thick. A whole one? You like it whole?
I mean,
You think how far do you think you can get a sausage in your mouth?
oof, I don't know. That's
Deep? Is it deep? 6 inches, 7 inches? How far? I mean, I've seen a 12-inch sausage. Speedy, you've seen one, right?
You a 12-inch? Yeah, probably.
You've seen one.
so
Right?
you saw it right away and you were like, damn, that's 12 inches right there.
Well, I don't know exact measurements, but I probably have seen something like that, a foot-long sausage.
I've seen a foot-long sausage. When I looked at it, I was like, I can't get that in my mouth. I mean, it's pretty thick and pretty long, so I would have to cut it up. So that's why I was talking to you about cutting off the sausage. You're cutting up the sausage.
Yeah, of course.
I mean, but if you ate it like that,
No, I'm not going to eat the whole thing at once.
Why not?
So I don't want to risk choking. It's not worth it.
Speedy, you're amazing, man. I mean, why would you want to choke on it?
Why would I want to risk that? What's the point?
I mean, it builds taste.
No, it doesn't.
Have you ever choked on a sausage?
That doesn't build taste.
How
The
do you
taste
know?
of the sausage is completely different than the way bodily fluids are in my throat.
Well, you're getting all the taste buds, You're getting every
Taste buds are not in your throat. You can technically taste it without even swallowing it.
You can taste it. That's a great line, man. I love it.
Oh man.
Again, something. I'm not gonna say 4-year-old. A 7-year-old would know.
Did you know that at 7 years old, Speedy?
Yes, I knew that you could.
You had a sausage at 7
Not
years old?
sausage. Enough with the specifics. I know that you can taste food without technically swallowing it. Yes, I think majority of 7-year-olds would know that.
What was your favorite food at 7 years old? Oh man, Speedy, you're the best. You're the best, man. That take is definitely. We definitely got to do something with that take. That's great. Anyways, oh man, it's been a great show. Thank you to Martin Chase, former Jaguars, Ravens, Saints, Commanders defensive tackle, for joining us. We've been trying to get him on for a couple of months, but he's been busy. He tried to come on a couple of weeks ago. We couldn't get him on because he's working with his organization. Shout out to Martin Chase for joining us. And thank you to Forever Blueshirts writer and on-air talent, Steve Pappas, for being who you are. And that's being our Ranger guy and very, very much into his hockey. So thank you. I know everybody doesn't like hockey, but we do. So tough luck, baby. We need to bring in an Islander guy. We need to bring in an Islander guy.
Reach out to some.
All right. Well, who do you want to bring in? You know who I want to bring on? I want to bring on the next guy that can't stand me. You know who I'm talking about.
Oh yeah, okay. We can bring
Let's
that.
reach out to
We
that.
can bring him in. As long as
to our friend Stefan Rosner, a person that can't stand me, can't even be in the same area as me, that he wants to throw up when he hears my name come out of anybody's mouth. I've got news for you, Stefan Rosner. start writing good stories because they're horrible. I can't stand reading his stories, by the way. He is so clueless in what's going on with the New York Islanders, by the way. He's clueless. For anybody that's reading that guy's stuff, shame on you. And why is there 14,000 people following him? Why is 14,000 idiot Islander fans following Stefan Rosner? And I'm saying idiot because I'm an Islander fan and I'm not the idiot following him. I wouldn't waste my time. My team would, if any of you follow Stefan Rosner, shame on you. What are you trying to do here? Are you trying to lose something? I mean, he probably still hasn't lost his virginity, right, Speedy? I have no idea. I mean, I'm just saying, I don't think he has. I mean, he's got a girlfriend. He's smiling. He's got, gets nice gifts from her, but he's probably not giving him anything or giving her anything or him. Who knows? Maybe it's really a he-she. I mean, seriously. Unfortunately, Stefan Rosner is lost in translation. I mean, Speedy, are you friends with Stefan Rosner? You follow him?
I don't know.
Do you follow him?
I might have at the time. I don't remember if I still do.
Do you read his stories?
I have not read his stories.
I read his stories. They're absolutely horrible. I actually, the whole Patrick Waugh story was very interesting, by the way, Speedy, because he claims that Patrick Waugh, he predicted that Patrick Waugh was one of the guys that he would have been interested in bringing in if he was the GM. Okay. Yeah. Thank you to Stefan Rosner kissing Lou Lamoriello's ass. What else is he doing? Is he hanging out with Lou? Is he going to massage parlors with Lou? I mean, Lou's probably getting something. I mean, he's 80-something years old. Maybe he's hanging out and feeding him some Viagra pills.
Maybe Lou's hanging out with Robert
Cialis? Could you imagine, Lou? You see Watson, Lou Lamoriello, and Robert Kraft, and they're laying right next to each other and both holding each other. They're all holding each other, one after the other. We call it the handshake. And you know who's massaging him? Stefan Rosner. Hey, who's massaging us today? This is Robert Kraft. I want him. Oh man, we should cut that one out too. The Islander fans will really love that one. The powder puff. Oh man. Anyways, thank you to all the fans and for me laughing tonight. It's definitely something that I've been waiting to do. I was tired last night. The summit really tired me out, and I was trying to figure out what was doing it to me. I mean, I wasn't up all night, Speedy, but thank God you kept me up. You kept me up on the show. You keep a lot of people up. Are you a night owl?
Of course.
You are. You're a night owl. So you like staying up and pleasing everybody when you're doing your work?
That's for their judgment.
You please everybody. You do your work.
I do, but
do you think you please people?
I would hope so.
I think you do please people.
Okay.
You satisfy people.
Okay.
You think you could satisfy other people that you don't know?
If they like our audio files and other stuff.
Yeah, I think other stuff would be good. Yeah. I mean, if you offered them one of your famous sausages and you cooked it for them, you think they would like that?
Not cooking them. I told you I'm not the one that cooks them.
I'm asking you if you could.
I wouldn't trust myself either.
You don't trust yourself?
Cooking? No.
Are you pleasing yourself?
No, I wouldn't trust myself cooking.
But people need to be pleased.
I don't. Yeah. How would I know? What am I, a stalker? I'm going to know how random people get pleased. What do I have? Central intelligence, and I'm going to. All right. This is how a person's going to get stalked based on this. Right. Having cameras installed in people's houses. What?
Oh man, yes, Carl. He is a pleaser. He is very much a pleaser. Speedy, you're wonderful. You're a wonderful guy, Speedy. Could you give me your thumb? Show me your thumb again.
All right, one more.
Show the thumb.
One more for Wes.
There he goes. Look at that. You got to do it. You got to give it to. You got to use the thumb a little bit more. There you go. Two in the pink, one in the snake. Give it to me. Give it. Look at this. Oh yeah. What is that? Are you rotating your thumb?
More motion, technically.
You're damn right. You got to use that. You got to poke. You got to do a poke. You got to stick. Yeah, poke it.
No, but that
You
doesn't
gotta poke.
No,
You
that
gotta
doesn't
poke.
work the same way. West Side, you had to move it like this.
Okay, you move it like this, a little round, and then poke. Poke. Poke around. Right? No, you gotta
One emphatic poke. No, it's not going to work the same way otherwise.
Emphatic poke. The emphatic poke. That's the perfect name. That's what we got to call it. The emphatic poke.
All right. Well, you next time you're at a Oklahoma State sporting event, you can,
ladies and gentlemen,
you can try to push that out because that's what they
emphatic
nickname their
poke.
team. That's what they nickname their team. So you could try to push that out for their version of what Wichita State does or TCU.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome the emphatic poke. Speak to us.
Now you sound like a wrestling announcer from the future.
The emphatic
when
poke.
robots take over, that's what it's going to sound like.
Emphatic poke. Emphatic poke. Poke it, poke it, poke it. Pop it, pop it, pop it. Let it, let it, let it. Dog it, dog it, dog it. Right?
Now you sound like you're rapping for an American Idol audition. It's a no for me, dog.
That's a no for me, dog. Oh, man. Man, what's going on with Keenan Allen over here? He said something. He went to the Bears.
There you go, Carl.
Here he goes. The Bears making moves. Does this mean he's got hoes in different area codes? Hey, area code. Speedy, you have hoes in different area codes?
You know that answer.
Is that a yes? Oh, my God. I mean, you do.
No, I don't.
How do you know? You have sausages in different area codes.
No, I don't.
How do you know?
I don't own any sausages.
I don't know any sausages. Oh, man.
Carl, to answer your question about cameras in houses, he's claimed that I would know how random people that I have no idea who they are would get pleasure. That would only be accessible if you're either an online creepy stalker with maybe Kevin Durant with a 7-burner account, or I have intelligence operations.
You do. You have an intelligence.
No, I don't.
Yes, you don't. What do we call the poke? What do we call it?
The emphatic poke, but that doesn't correlate with what Carl is describing. Where I had the analogy that has nothing to do with what Carl is describing. Where I was describing the intelligence operations.
The emphatic poke. It's great. That's a great name. The emphatic poke.
Carl, if somebody doesn't own any sausages, they don't own any sausages. That's nothing to do with age.
Well, the age of the sausage means a lot.
Well, duh. I'm like expired. Thank you.
Well, what happens if it is expired? What happens if it's an old sausage? But it's still
eat it.
You wouldn't eat the old sausage?
No, I'm not
How old does it have
expired
to be?
sausage?
How old does it
I
have to
don't
be?
know. I just don't want it to be expired.
But I'm asking you.
I don't know. I don't hyperanalyze these things.
So how old is the sausage? If it was in the freezer and it sat for a little while, and
I'll check the date. I don't know.
He'll check the date. Only 20 years, right?
What? No, it's nasty.
How about a 60-year-old sausage? What do you
Ew.
think? It's disgusting. What's ugly?
I'm not eating anything 60 years old.
How about if you ate a sausage with Ashley Sarge? Would you eat a sausage with him?
Not the same one. Thank you, Carl, for understanding the logic of expiration dates.
Not the same one, he says. You don't want to share a sausage with
No,
Ashley
I'm not
Sarge?
sharing any food. Anyone can order their own food, especially Ashley, who knows all these people.
He knows all these people. So what happens if he shared his sausage with you? He
I
shares it
don't
with you.
care.
Well, don't you want to share a sausage? I mean,
No, I'm not that desperate to eat other people's food.
That's pretty good. Oh man. Oh man, I'm losing it.
Actually hates sausage anyway, so there you go.
I mean, okay, what does he like? Oscar Wieners? Does he like the Oscar Wieners?
What do they call him? He can comment. I don't know his tongue. Now all of a sudden you're expecting me to randomly know random taste buds.
You like meat patties? Ask
Yes,
Ashley.
but okay. All right, Ashley, do you like meat patties? Everyone wants to know.
Would you share a meat patty?
No, I'm not eating other people's food. What is your issue here?
How about kielbasa?
I don't know what that is.
It's like a sausage.
Oh, kielbasa.
Yeah, kielbasa.
You said kielbasa.
No, kielbasa.
Yeah, yes, I do like that.
You like that?
Yes.
How big do you like the kielbasa?
I don't know. Again, size is not proportional to flavor.
How about thick?
Maybe, yeah.
You like it thick?
Sure.
Yeah, it's beautiful, right? Wonderful kielbasa.
Okay, yes, kielbasa comes in all different sizes. It's a different flavor. It's Polish sausage.
Polish sausage. So you rather a Polish sausage?
I like kielbasa.
Okay, so you like it bland? What do you like it? Oh. I mean, it's a different.
Yeah, they're all different flavors.
All right,
Good job.
which flavor do you like?
Something that's more flavorful. Yeah. Thank you, Carl. You know the difference.
Oh no, don't like pierogies. He doesn't like
Pierogies aren't sausage. That's different. That's a
Do you
whole
like
different thing.
pierogies?
I do, but that's a whole different thing.
Yeah, have you ever eaten a sausage with pierogies?
Can't remember offhand, but
If you cut,
I
some of
mean,
that-
I might have. I don't know.
I mean, it's
possible.
you know, you could share pierogies with them.
Again,
They're flat.
We all can order our own food. I don't need to take something off of his plate.
All right, let's.
I am
see.
not that desperate to do that.
One more time. Let's see the emphatic poke. Let's do it. Speedy's emphatic poke. Give it to him. Give it to him, Speedy. Go ahead. Give it to him. The emphatic poke. Oh man. Oh man, the last 20 minutes, I'm gonna have a heart attack. I'm gonna fall over.
And I'm about to say my other two favorite words: self-inflicted.
Anyways, thank you to all the fans for listening to us. We really hope you were entertained by the great Speedy Petey, as he is the emphatic poker. So there you go. We will be back next Wednesday. Tune in, check out all the different posts. Go to Spotify, go to Apple, go to YouTube, the Sports Loudmouth. You can check it out. Yes, Speedy's emphatic stare. What is this? What is he saying?
Carl, I'm not cooking. There's a difference.
Yeah.
I would not be able to cook sauerkraut.
Why? What's wrong with sauerkraut?
I didn't say anything was wrong with it.
Did
I'm
you
saying I'm not going to be the one to cook it.
You all right? You almost choked there. Be careful now. We don't need you to die on air. All right. We need to protect you. You okay?
I have no idea, but I'm not the one cooking, Carl.
I have no idea. How do you not know if you're okay? I love, dude, you are the funniest dude I know, man. You are funny. You're out there.
If everybody knew what they were like in a certain state, we wouldn't need therapy or psychology. But clearly that's not the case.
Anyways, thank you to all the fans. Thank you to Martin Chase. Thank you to Stephen Pappas. Thank you to everybody that tunes into us. Check us out on all the social medias as always: YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, all of them. The Sports Loudmouth. You can check me out at Errol Marks 34 on Twitter. Shout out to Scoops for being Scoops. Thank you to our executive producer, Aaron Fishman, who's always doing the crazy stuff and adding the content to our show. Thank you to Speedy for just being you. Smile. There we go. Nice smile. Look at that. A nice little smirk with the, the Speedy, the emphatic poke. I mean, that's your wrestling move. That's your wrestling
I'm not
move.
wrestling.
The emphatic poke.
And now you sound like that futuristic robotic wrestling announcer having a malfunction.
The emphatic poke. Choke on it, baby. Right?
That's weird. I'm not choking anything.
You're not choking on the.
No.
All right. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you. We'll be back next week. Listen to 103.9 FM. We have the pregame show for the Islanders on Saturday, and we have the weekend crunch after the Islander game at 10:30. Tune in. Listen to us as me and Speedy will entertain you for the whole show. I promise you, if you think you were laughing for the last 30 minutes, we will make you laugh on Saturday. I was about to say next week, but we will be back next week. Anyways, good night. So long. Farewell.
You're listening to the Worldwide Sports Radio Network.